Live from Chatterbox Sports Studios, it's Off the Bench with Thom Brennaman.
Well, good morning, and a good Thursday morning to you, and welcome as always to Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers. I'm Thom Brennaman. We come your way Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to noon Eastern Time. You can watch us on YouTube/Chatterbox Sports. We always ask, if you wouldn't mind, please subscribe to the show. You can also find us streaming on Facebook on the Chatterbox Sports page, and please flip on the notification switch. If podcasts are your cup of tea, wherever you find them, just go to Off the Bench with Thom Brennaman and you're dialed in. We're going to start every show until we know this young man is better, sending our thoughts and prayers to Demar Hamlin and his family. Nothing right now in the grand scheme of things is more important than that. We all agree for sure. But we also agree that the show must go on, and it will go on. The show being the National Football League. Now, yesterday we received, as we told you, great news about Hamlin. His uncle had been quoted as saying that his nephew originally needed 100% of his auction via a ventilator. That's down to 50% or less. He is still in critical condition, but thankfully signs are pointing in the right direction. The Bengals were back on the practice field yesterday, getting ready for a shot to potentially clinch the AFC North against Baltimore. We're going to get into all this here in a minute. I mean, is the game going to be made up? Is it not going to be made up? What are the repercussions from all of that? We told you yesterday we suspected the game would be scheduled for 1 o'clock at Paycor, and that it is. There is still no word officially on what will happen with the Bills game, although there seems to be more and more chatter that the game will not be played, and the league will base seedings for the playoffs on winning percentage. There was talk about this during COVID. Zach Taylor spoke publicly for the first time yesterday since Monday night, and he praised naturally on Buffalo head coach Sean McDermott, even sharing some of the conversation that took place on the field that all of us saw that night between the two. McDermott told Taylor point blank, "I need to be at the hospital and not coaching this game." End of story. In other news, former Bengals tackle Willie Anderson is one of 15 finalists for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It was announced yesterday. The board will meet in the coming weeks to choose a maximum of 5 modern-era finalists for enshrinement. Cornerback Ken Riley is one of 4 senior committee finalists, and they are chosen by a simple yes or no answer. Both Anderson and Riley certainly deserve to be there, and you have to continue to bring up the name Kenny Anderson. How is he not in the Pro Football Hall of Fame? I have no answer to that. Other news and notes around the National Football League. Justin Fields' season is over. He will not play the season finale after a hip injury last week. Fields rushed for the second most yards in a season by a quarterback ever. 1,142. He was 64 yards shy, and no doubt would have broken the record held by Lamar Jackson that was set in 2019. Kyler Murray will not start next season on time. The Arizona quarterback tore his ACL, you may remember, 3 weeks ago, and just had the surgery yesterday. College basketball. UC looks to bounce back from its loss at Temple. It takes on Wichita State on the road tonight. Another big one tonight, Ohio State will host number 1 Purdue in Columbus. Tip-off set for 7 o'clock. Buckeyes are 10-3, Purdue 13-1. In baseball news, the hits just keep on coming for the monster market teams. The Red Sox have agreed to an 11-year, $331 million deal with all-star third baseman Rafael Devers. It's the longest and the largest guaranteed deal ever given by the Boston Red Sox. And consider this for a moment. Of the 14 highest spending teams in free agency this winter, only 2, San Diego and St. Louis, are outside of the top 10 largest markets in the sport. 2 in New York, 2 in Philly, Chicago, Dallas, or 2 in Chicago, 1 in Philly, Dallas, San Francisco, Houston, Boston, Toronto, Anaheim, and the Dodgers. Not going to beat the proverbial dead horse here. Casey McAllister, welcome back. You're feeling better today. Paul Fritchner, good morning. Casey, you all right?
Yeah, I got some medicine in me. Got some Sudafed, got some cough syrup, and now I'm back to being able to do the show.
Now, you know, the natural question, when you mention that combination of medication, for some people it sort of slows them down a little bit. For other people, it kind of, you start getting a little jumpy. You tend to, move fast. Does that mean, well, first of all, do you notice feeling more of one or the other? Are you a little more on the jumpy side or a little bit more on the laid-back side? You know where we're going ultimately with this.
I mean, I feel normal. I feel kind of laid back, I guess.
Okay. So the shot clock's in play.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's cold. That's really cold. Paul,
Thom, you posed the question right before we came on the air. Do the Bengals want to play this game?
Well, it's interesting, and I got to give it up to Jay Morrison, because he's a guy that wrote in The Athletic today about as good a piece as you can write on, and this is our debate today. And I need to get inside the chat before we go any further here, because I want to get some reaction to from all those who are kind enough to join us every single day about what would you do, okay? What would you do? And we've got a ton of folks already on board. Emperor, Zachary, 6412 Mars, Brian, Everett, Sir Boy Wonder, Andrew, Chris. Hope I'm not forgetting anybody here. Seth, Keith, Brendan, Paul. I mean, dozens and dozens. Okay, here's the deal. Would you rather, and I'm going to try to keep this as simple as possible because it is quite complicated, but I'm going to try to keep it as simple as possible. Okay, here's the deal. If the Bengals and Bills make up this game, and however they do it, and I'm not getting into the details or the logistics on how and when and all that, okay? I'm just asking you this simple question. If the Bills and Bengals make up their game, depending on outcomes, not just of the Bengals' final 2 games against the Ravens and Buffalo, if you play 2 more games, the Bengals could finish first, second, third, fifth, or 6th in the playoff seedings. Okay?
Yep.
All right. If you don't play the game against Buffalo, you're AFC North champions. You can still get the number 2 seed with a win this weekend and a Buffalo loss, but you cannot, under any circumstances, get the number 1 seed. So, when you're talking about making up the game, okay, you could walk through then all the different things that could happen, right? And if you want to go into all those, we can go into all those. But if you don't play the game, it's quite simple. You're AFC North champs. You're for sure the number 3 seed. And if you win and Buffalo loses to New England, and New England needs this game to get in the playoffs, let's not forget that. The game is in Buffalo. But New England has to win the game to get in the playoffs. So that's a team that should come ready to play, especially with Bill Belichick as head coach. Casey, which would you – are you a gambling man? Or are you like one of those guys that'll say, you know what, or like one of those shows where you've won $10,000 and they're saying to you, okay, if you answer one more question, you can win $30,000. Or if you don't answer another question, just stick the 10 in your pocket. What are you doing?
First off, if I was a cold, heartless man and was hoping for the Bills to lose against the Patriots, we would be playing them if we won against the Ravens. It'd be the number 2 versus the number 7. Patriots would be the 7th spot. So they'd be coming to Cincinnati. And they give us a scare. And they match up well. I don't care that we won. I mean, they scared us, right? I mean, they almost came back and won. They were 5-10 yards away from winning the ball game. So, personally, I know it sucks for the fandom, but I'd rather just win the AFC North, in my honest opinion.
Okay.
Because honestly, what I think will happen is we're going to play the Ravens again anyways. I think the Chargers are going to win, and the Ravens will slide in at number 6. We'll get number 3, and we'll have to face each other again.
God, that's going to suck.
Yeah.
That is going to suck.
And it'll be back-to-back weeks.
Oh, man. I don't like that at all. I don't like that one bit.
That's kind of how I think that's what I think will happen. I don't know if I want that to happen. I think what I want to happen is for us to get the number 1 seed. That's what I want to happen.
Well, for that to happen, and the only way it can happen is if you make up the game against Buffalo. It's the only way you can do it.
Yep.
Is if you make up the game against Buffalo, okay, and you win your 2 games, including that one, and Kansas City loses against the Raiders.
I know. The odds are definitely not in their favor at all. But let's just get one thing out of the way. They're not going to make up this game.
There's no doubt about it.
They're not going to make up this game.
No. There's too much in terms of logistics. And to be completely honest, I don't know if you guys saw the Bob Costas interview on Anderson Cooper at all.
No.
I thought he brought up a great point. I don't think anybody wants to see. Now, if it's 3 weeks from now and it's a playoffs and that's the way it turns out, where the Bills have to come back to Cincinnati. But I don't think next week, emotionally, I don't think the people in uniform, those that work for either franchise, those that would go to the game, I just don't think they want to see Buffalo in Cincinnati right now, so fresh off what happened in what would be, 9-10 days.
Yeah. I mean, I really.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I feel really bad for the Bills right now. I mean, they're being asked right now to get prepped for a Patriots game where they could potentially lose seeding. They could potentially be in a worse position. They're asked to I mean, we're sitting here talking about the Bengals. What about the Bills? I mean, what do they do? Do they just
So what happens if the Bengals win this weekend and the Bills lose this weekend?
We get number 2.
Yeah, get number 2.
Yeah, you ain't playing that Bills game.
I mean, it's been suggested on the chat that, they might wait around till the –
There's no way you can wait around, though, because that affects how the Bengals could treat this game against the Ravens.
Well, there's no question.
Because
and like I said, if you don't make up the Buffalo game and that is announced, the Bengals are the 3 seed no matter what. For people that would say they pull their players and sit them and rest them, 0 chance of that happening. They tee off the same time as Buffalo does on Sunday, knowing you could still get the 2nd seed.
Yeah, they won't. The Bengals.
You rather play New England or the Chargers?
Yeah, the Bengals won't rest people on Sunday, but the NFL needs to make a decision on what's going to happen with the Bengals and the Bills, an official one. It sounds like it's trending toward they're not going to play, but they need to make an official decision on this before the first game on Saturday, because whatever happens with that affects the Chiefs, it affects the Bengals, and affects the Bills, and the Chiefs play on Saturday. So the Chiefs have to have an answer on this, because that could affect how they finish the game, how they, if you take this out of it, then the Chiefs could potentially be playing for something or not playing for something.
Yep.
There's a lot that goes into this game. It's not just like, this is the 5 and 6 seed that they've locked it up, and it's not like that at all. So they have to figure this out tomorrow, at least by tomorrow, to be able to give everybody some clarity. You can't go into this weekend and say, well, we're going to see what happens, and then we'll figure it out on Sunday night whether we're going to play this or not. It has to be decided tomorrow.
Agreed. And that's the thing. We were talking about this in our group chat. I don't think I was here at the time, but there's not really a good solution. There's going to be something that upsets the fans, regardless of what happens. There's going to be giving the Chiefs either first place or frogs.
Yeah, no, you're right.
What would you rather have? Let me ask you this.
Paul, did you answer the question yet? Did you pick one?
Yeah, what would you rather have?
I don't know if you ever definitively said which one you would choose.
I wouldn't play. I wouldn't play the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Because I look, I mean, again, this goes back to what we were talking about the other day. If you're looking at this from just a pure football perspective and everything that the Bills are going through right now, I mean, you hate to say it, it sounds callous, but there's a significant chance that the Bills lose this game to a very hungry for the playoffs New England team. And if they, I mean, we're just calling it like it is. If the Bills lose that game and the Bengals win this game, which they very easily can at home on Sunday, then you're talking about being the number 2 seed, which maybe is the most optimal option here.
Yeah, I mean,
you mean instead of a 1 seed? Are you saying instead of a 1?
Think about if you're the 1 seed. I know the whole rest versus rust argument, but think about what happens in the choppy flow of your season if you get the 1 seed, right? You had essentially a bye week where everybody got shook up this past week with everything that happened. You come back, you play 1 game, and then you go and you get the number 1 seed and you're off again for 14 days. I don't know. That seems like a very weird flow to your season.
Well, the only thing is that if you are the 1, and look at you, getting a week off when you got guys bumps and bruises and all that kind of stuff, I mean, every team in the league would take it. Number 2, every game at home as long as you're alive. Number 3, I'd rather face the winner of the 4-5 game than the 3-6 game. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about facing Jacksonville or Tennessee. Whoever wins that game this weekend, wins the AFC South, will be the number 4 seed. That game is played in Jacksonville this weekend.
Yeah.
And then the 5 seed, you turn around and play Baltimore again at home. Now, that would depend, of course, on what happens in some of the other games.
Yeah.
But, it's, at the end of the day, as we all know, you're still going to have to beat the best to be the best. That's the oldest cliche in the book. So at some point in time, in some venue, you're going to have to beat Kansas City. You're going to have to beat Buffalo if you want to get to where you were a year ago. And that's back into the Super Bowl. But I think, all things considered, take the 3 seed or go out and win and hope you get the 2 seed. Put the 3 seed in your back pocket, right? If you get the 2, you play whoever that last team is. And that's a whole now other department of talking about the scenarios there in the AFC. We know that if New England wins, New England's a 7 seed. The first 6 are all tied up. It's just trying to figure out what order they're in, okay? You'll have the 4 division champions, Kansas City, Buffalo, Cincinnati with the caveat, not making up the game, but we're assuming that. And then the winner of the Jacksonville-Tennessee game. 5, 6, and 7. 5 and 6 is just a matter of where they're going to be. Baltimore and the Chargers are in. Okay, now one's going to be 5, one's going to be 6. 7, you get to New England. If the Patriots win, they're in. End of story. If they lose and Miami beats the Jets at home, Miami becomes a 7 seed. New England, out. If New England loses and Miami loses, if Pittsburgh beats Cleveland, the Pittsburgh Steelers are the number 7 seed.
Right, but...
And if you're the 2 seed, that's who you would lock up with first round of the playoffs.
But the only...
Men of aluminum!
The only 2nd seed game that the Bengals would be able to play against is the Patriots. Because the Patriots have to beat the Bills.
Well, if you're the 2 seed, that's right. But I'm saying if you're the 2 seed, you're going to play whoever the 7 is. So, okay, you take New England out. But, no, you wouldn't take New England. It would be New England. Because the only way you can get the 2 seed is if New England wins that game.
Yeah.
So who you want to play? You want to play New England.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd rather play New England than the Steelers or Miami.
I would agree with that.
Oh, no, I'd rather play Miami. They stink.
I think that's bad.
They stink. You would
rather potentially face a team that has Tyreek Hill. Now, I know they don't have Tua.
That's
but
good. All right.
The Patriots have anybody?
They're
awful.
Oh, I wasn't even thinking that. I was thinking the Steelers. Steelers are hot.
I wouldn't want to. I would not want to play Pittsburgh. That's just bad mojo.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Bad mojo.
I hate to stake a take on Mojo and Juju, but I don't know, man. I don't need to. Give me the Dolphins. Move on.
Well, regardless, the Bengals are either going to play. They're either going to play the Patriots at the 2nd seed, or at the 3rd seed, they're either going to play the Ravens. Or no, that's it. That's it. Those are the only 2 possibilities. They're either going to play, if they win against the Ravens this weekend, then they would play them again if the Bills win.
If the Bills win, then the Bengals are playing the Ravens next week. We're talking in circles here, but if the Bills win, the Bengals play the Ravens no matter what, right?
If the Chargers lose, there's only 3 teams that they'll be able to play.
Chargers win, they go to 5.
Yeah, so there's only 3 teams.
Let's just roll the ball out there, boys, and see what happens. This is too much.
No, but I mean, there's a lot going on there. I mean, there's a lot happening there. And it's hard to, it gets confusing unless you put it up on a board and start doing this and this and this and this in front of everybody. At least it is for somebody like me. But, your potential opening round teams to play against, whether you're the 2 or the 3, could be New England, could be Miami, could be Pittsburgh, could be Baltimore, could be the Chargers. Any of those 5. And the last one I want to face of that group, without a doubt, is the Chargers.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. But the only 3 teams the Bengals can play against, are the Ravens, the Patriots, and the Chargers. Those are the only 3.
They can't play the Steelers?
No.
Yes, they can.
No, they can't.
If what?
The Bengals cannot play in the first round of the playoffs the Steelers, Miami, and they can't play those.
Of course they can.
No, they can't.
Listen, Casey.
Listen. No. You already said it before. You already said it before.
Okay, go ahead.
The only way the Bengals will get the 2nd seed, right, is if the Patriots beat the Bills, which means the Patriots are automatically
Patriots. You're right on that. You're right. Okay. You're right. Yeah, right.
So
as a 2 seed, yes.
Now, if the Bills win and we win, we have to play the Ravens. The Ravens would fall. If the Chargers win, they would fall to the 6.
Right.
If we beat the Ravens and the Chargers lose, we'd play the Chargers.
Right.
If we lose the Ravens and the Chargers, regardless, it's Chargers, Ravens.
You're precisely right.
Patriots. Those are the 3 teams we're actually.
That's exactly right. Based on the other games and how they would play out. Yes.
Right.
But more than likely, we all agree Buffalo is going to beat New England.
I'm doing the Zach Galifianakis mental math.
Yes, I am too. But Casey's spot on. The bottom line is that Buffalo is going to beat New England. Buffalo is going to show up to play this week. They are going to show up to play. That crowd is going to be off the charts in Buffalo on Sunday.
I hope so.
They will. There's no doubt in my mind, because I think the fans are going to look at it just like the players look at it. And that is, there might be parts of us mentally that don't want to be here. But at the end of the day, I thought Reuben Brown, our guest yesterday, perennial All-Pro with Buffalo, will one day be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He said that for most athletes, himself included, it was therapeutic to get back to having a schedule and something to be focused on. And Sean McDermott, I heard an interview yesterday on the radio with someone from Buffalo who talked about McDermott and how the players, they love this guy because he listens, he pays attention to what they want to do. Doesn't mean they run the show, but if there are things going on week in and week out during the season, and guys will come to him and say, I think we ought to consider X, Y, and Z. Could be practice schedule, could be how you practice, could be game planning, could be any number of things. And McDermott apparently is a very good listener, something all of us strive to be better at, right? Just ask our wives. And he is going to have that team, I mean, ready to demolish the New England Patriots on Sunday. I'm not a gambler, but if I was a gambler, I would be loading up, Mr. Fritzner, on the Buffalo Bills. What's the spread in that game?
The Bills. So I made this comment the other day that we were talking about the Bills and how do they respond. This feels like a situation on Sunday where the Bills either come out flat and they lose by 50, or they win pretty significantly. Casey, what do we – let me see. There's not really a lot on this. Oh, you know why? Because it just opened. Because they didn't know if they were going to play the game or not. So the line for this game, we don't really have much on this game. Bills are favored by a touchdown, Thom, but we don't.
And for them, over the course of this season, we know that it's quite low, and I would imagine based on everything that's going on, that's probably a big reason why.
Yeah, I mean, they've been at least a touchdown favorite each of their last 4 games. Pretty much all season they've been at least a touchdown favorite. They were 4-point favorites. They were 4-point favorites at New England when they covered back on December 1st. So, yeah, they won by 2 touchdowns, 24-10.
Someone made the comment in the chat that if the Bengals get the 2 seed, they could play the Steelers. That is impossible.
No, it's not possible.
Without making up the Buffalo game.
Correct.
Yes. So you're right. Casey, you were spot on. Spot on. It would be the Ravens, it would be the Chargers, or it would be the Patriots, and that's it.
Those are the only options.
Because the only way the Bengals, at least based on this being the final game of the regular season, the only way they get the 2 seed is if they win and Buffalo loses. Buffalo losing to New England. If New England win, it's a 7 seed, lock, stock, and barrel. Steelers, Dolphins, out if New England wins. Coming up later today, we have Paul Dougherty. Now, he's been writing a lot on themorningline.substack.com about everything going on, trying to put everything into the big picture, as we've tried to do a little bit the last couple of days, about, and I saw where Jason Williams wrote the same thing in the Inquirer this morning. Are you allowed to go back and now start to enjoy football and watch football and cheer for your team? Or, because of everything that has happened with Demar Hamlin, is that just not the right thing to do? And I think he laid it out quite well. Williams did, saying that, there's no right answer, there's no wrong answer here. It's okay to go back there and start rooting again. It's okay to feel like the NFL should cancel every game. You know what I didn't realize? I went back and read that story about the player for the Lions who dropped dead on the field in 1971.
And they played the game?
Right then and there.
Yeah. They just kept playing. I don't know. I think, not that we're in a time where we're ultra sensitive to things. I think we've just come to realize what's really important. Not saying that people back then didn't know, but it wasn't like, the whole country was watching that game.
All right, hold on. Can somebody check this for me, please?
Yeah, so somebody in the chat pointed out, one of the Bills players just tweeted that, it's not. They just said, our boy is doing better, awake, and showing more signs of improvement. Thank you, God. Keep the prayers coming. All love.
And that being Demar
Hamlin. Then the Bills tweeted, per the physicians caring for Demar Hamlin at the University of Cincinnati Medical Center, Demar has shown remarkable improvement over the past 24 hours. While still critically ill, he has demonstrated that he appears to be neurologically intact. His lungs continue to heal, and he is making steady progress. We are grateful for the love and support we have received. That's from the Bills.
Yeah, that's good news.
So that's good.
That's awesome.
It's more than good news. Thank you, Lord, indeed.
That's good. But the other thing too is getting more and more of that news now gives the Bills more peace of mind to be able to play on Sunday too. If this news comes out Sunday, if this news comes out Sunday afternoon during the game, who knows what kind of a mental state they're playing in when guys are going out there trying to make tackles or whatever. But you start to get more and more of this good news now on Thursday and Friday. That puts the Bills in a good spot.
Well, I mean, if you really just look at the last less than 48 hours. I mean, remember now, we're sitting here on Thursday. This happened Monday night, close to 9 o'clock at night. He's not even in the hospital till 9:30. And here we are in that remarkable staff down at the UC Medical Center. And here we are getting good news on Wednesday morning, getting remarkably good news now on Thursday morning. This kid's a fighter and strong and healthy kid. I call him a kid, 24's kid. And, boy, this is fantastic. Fantastic. Just hope it keeps on coming.
Yeah, because the longer and longer it went without really a significant update, you kept thinking to yourself, well, is he going to survive?
You're right.
But maybe he survives, but what kind of a state is he in? The longer and longer you're waiting for things. Now I understand with the seriousness of this injury, you might need to run a lot of tests. You might need to do a lot of things that take some time. It's not immediate. It takes time to figure out how these guys are doing, and this is such a significant medical issue that you need to, was there anything there before? I mean, there's just so many things that you have to figure out here before you can officially make a statement, say he's better or whatever it may be. But good news. Good news on that end.
I had a friend of mine. I was out walking our dogs yesterday afternoon. He's a doctor here in town, has zero affiliation. In fact, works at a separate hospital from UC Medical. And I just ran into him out walking the dogs late yesterday afternoon. And naturally, like everybody else, if you're a sports fan, you don't even have to be a sports fan. You're talking about this. He made the point. He said, and he's worked in a number of different places all over the country. He's not been in Cincinnati all that long. And he's the one who said it to me yesterday. He said, the UC Medical Center is regarded as one of the top Trauma 1 hospitals in the world. And he said, there are a lot of other NFL cities who have great health care. And he pointed out to me, this was something I've never heard of before. And he thought it was true. I don't know if it's true. I'm going to have to look into it. I forgot to do it this morning. But he said to have an NFL team, you have to have a Trauma 1 medical facility in your city.
Yeah, I've heard that. I read a story about all of the qualifications that you need to have to be able to have a team in your city. There are just the different medical qualifications that need to have. Qualifications isn't the right word, but yeah, Trauma 1 facility. What they were talking about, even having the AEDs and everything on the plane, traveling with the teams, and everything that the NFL has done. As you see, if you're watching this on YouTube right now, the tweet is on the screen. That's directly from the Bills. It's just what I read out a minute ago. But yeah, I mean, UC, we know it here as Cincinnati residents that the UC hospital is one of the best, not only in the country, but that's one of the best hospitals in the world. And to be 2 miles away from it is significant.
Yeah, that's the other part about it, too. You're so close.
Yeah.
You're so close.
I mean, he's right there.
I used to think all the time, and this is getting off base for a minute here, but I remember one time I was on a team bus. I think I was doing the Diamondbacks games, and we were riding out to Old Shea Stadium in New York, taking the team bus around 3:30 in the afternoon. And it's quite a ride, not in terms of miles, but in terms of just headache and traffic, riding from Manhattan, Midtown Manhattan, out to Shea. And, I mean, the traffic is backed up as far as you can see. And there's an ambulance trying to get through all this. and not going anywhere. And I remember thinking to myself, man, if that was someone in your family and you live in a town like this where the traffic literally 24/7, I mean, go Chicago, go Phoenix, go wherever you want, right? Dallas. We're very, very lucky here on multiple levels. You know, the one word in that statement, Paul, that when you put it back up there that you had a second ago, and I think, you know, the word that stands out to me there is the word remarkable. Because it says, per the physicians caring for Demar Hamlin. Hospitals aren't the sort to be throwing out words like remarkable unless it's truly remarkable. Because look, you know, whether it's the world we live in with lawsuits and all kinds of different things, hospitals aren't in the business, doctors aren't in the business of just throwing out big words like that. And it's not that they're pessimistic, but they're quite guarded. I think we all agree on that. They have to be guarded.
Yeah, with HIPAA and everything
There's
else.
no doubt. And so for them to use remarkable is truly remarkable. We got our picks tomorrow.
Yep.
So all of a sudden become a ball game now.
Yeah. I have some catching up to do.
Make sure if you're watching right now on YouTube, got some big numbers here in the chat, so make sure you like the video. Also pinned up there at the top. Yeah. Oh, look at that. Look at that, Thom.
It's kind of hard to see.
Little button.
What are we looking at?
Flip it back to Thom and play it again. There you go.
You ready for this? Watch the screen. Oh, hang on. Here we go.
Look at that.
Wow.
Subscribe.
How fancy is that?
Turn the notification bell on. Like, subscribe.
We're reaching the big leagues.
We're like 5 subscribers away from 3,000. The other thing, too, to Pub is the Discord. Discord's been popping.
Oh, man.
We taught Thom about that yesterday.
Discord.
So if you hop in the
story
Discord.
of the world, Discord. How did the world ever survive without Discord? Go ahead, please. You were saying, Paul.
Well, I don't know how.
Before I rudely interrupted.
I don't know how Chatterbox ever survived without Discord, and you can get into the website. It's pinned at the top of the chat right now. It's an app. You can get it on your phone. You can do it on your computer. But it's just basically an extension of the live chat that we all use every day here on the show. There's a lot of you regulars that I see here in the chat. Also in the Discord, it has topics for every Cincinnati sport, betting, all that stuff. So make sure you get in there. It's been pretty active the last couple of nights, so it's been good.
Want to thank LX, who reminds us Chuck Hughes was the Detroit Lions player who died on the field in 1971. So thank you for that. And I understand Andrew points out that all the talk about Demar Hamlin's fund, which he started 2 years ago with a goal of reaching $2,500 and giving away toys to needy children. Wanted it to get to $2,500. It's up over $6 million now. But people apparently are now starting to donate to T. Higgins charity. We talked a little bit about that yesterday.
Yeah, there was not to cut you off at all. There was a clip of T. Higgins at practice, and Jamar Chase was teasing him, and you could see T. Higgins laughing and had a smile on his face. So
good to see.
That really uplifted my spirits for T, knowing that, you know, he can still, not that he couldn't before, but that he's still enjoying practice. He's still enjoying the brotherhood. And the one thing I read, and something that we should probably talk about, is Joe Burrow kind of leading his team into a brotherhood of love. He kind of, I don't know if you read the same thing I did, but he kind of let the whole team know, like, I love you guys, and we need to say it more often. And for moments like this, it's really important that, you know, we remember and, you know, recognize that.
Well, I mean, I think that's in Joe Burrow's DNA. And and it all goes back to his upbringing in Athens, Ohio. Obviously, I've spent a lot of time there. I went to college there, and I love that place, and I still go back 2-3 times a year, if not more than that. But his mom and dad, and when he had the Heisman Trophy speech, it was without a doubt the most riveting Heisman Trophy speech that I can ever remember. I'm not going to say it was the all-time greatest because I haven't watched or listened to them all. Caleb Williams was mighty good this year. But Joe Burrow talked about, he took that moment, the highlight of his playing career, of his young life at that point in time, to talk about kids he went to high school with in Athens, Ohio. It's Appalachia. There's no doubt about it. There is a lot of poor, and I mean really poor as anywhere in America, including the very inner city, anywhere in the country. And talked about kids going to bed hungry that he played football with and not having meals or food on the table when they got home after practice, and how the Athens food bank all of a sudden vaulted from like a $50,000, $40,000 a year budget to $2 or $3 million, whatever it was. Eventually that much. Overnight from the Heisman thing, it jumped up over $700,000, $750,000. And to hear him yesterday, no surprise whatsoever. Thought Zach Taylor was gold yesterday.
Before you say that about Zach Taylor, I am just going to put this in here real quick that Ian Rappaport just said that he opened his eyes last night and is responsive. So that's even more of a illustration of what we're going through here and where he's at. But yes, you're right about Zach Taylor. I thought the whole press conference yesterday, I thought both Zach, DJ Reader was up there, Joe Burrow talked for a long time. I thought all the press conferences yesterday were pretty good.
Man, how do you not just love this team? Like, the greatest group of guys. They're just awesome.
It's an impressive group. And in many ways, even though he was under incredible fire, and deservedly so, for a long time about the way he spent money on this team that he owns is Mike Brown. But I've always said that Mike Brown, you'd really like to have Mike Brown, I think, as your dad. And when you make a comment like that, and that's not one that I would use lightly, and I don't even know him well enough to probably say that. But just based on people that know him well, stories you hear about him, things that he's done professionally in terms of giving people who are really in a dark place and having a tough time a second chance, a third chance, a fourth chance. Chris Henry comes to mind. Guys like that. And Chris Henry was no perfect man, and most franchises would have said, beat it. No chance. We don't need this aggravation. And you know what? They wouldn't have been wrong in many cases. But Mike Brown has always been the kind of man that shows incredible compassion. I think he's got a beautiful heart. He's not always been the best owner of a professional football franchise. In fact, I think it would be fair to say he was not a good owner at all of this professional franchise for a long, long time in regards of trying to win. But it doesn't make him a bad human being, and never did. And so, I think right now this franchise is the embodiment in many, many ways of what the Brown family, and Mike Brown particularly, is all about. It's just now they happen to be winning games. And so, to use your phrase, you love them a little more. I mean, if they're getting their asses kicked every week, even through something like this, you're not loving them. You're liking them, you're appreciating them, but the winning part adds to it. It just sort of closes the circle, as I like to say. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Told you we got Paul Dougherty coming on at 11, so we got a few minutes here. I do want to walk through, fellas, a couple of things, okay? And that is where we are in the NFC, because this is another one where, you start talking about the playoffs and what's going on there and who's in and who's out. There's a lot more intrigue, I think, in the NFC going into the final weekend than the AFC, especially because in the AFC, We don't know where the whole thing's going to shake out with the Bengals and Bills making up their game. But when you get into the NFC picture, you have all kinds of moving parts as to who could be 1, who could be 2, who could be 3, in any number of these situations. And so let's start with the most simple of all. The Eagles, this is their 3rd straight week to win a game, to nail down home field advantage throughout the playoffs. They've lost the last 2 without Jalen Hurts. He is playing this week, but it's no layup. They're taking on the Giants. Now, the Giants are already in the playoffs. So it's not like they're playing a team desperate like New England. Okay, so the Eagles win. If the Eagles lose and the 49ers win their last game of the season, all of a sudden the San Francisco 49ers, if they win, would finish the season on a 10-game winning streak and be the number 1 seed in the NFC. Want to play them right now?
No.
That stiff Brock Purdy.
He's got nothing, Tom.
Listen, I'm
defend yourself, Casey. You blew him up. You blew him up.
I'm coming around to the idea that Brock Purdy is a great system guy for the San Francisco 49ers.
All right.
Okay, that's good enough.
We'll take that.
We'll take that.
He really is. I think he's done enough to prove it. I know the one game that stuck out to me was against the Raiders last week. I mean, I was watching that game, and I mean, he just kept finding the right guy to throw to, and he's a rookie too, right?
He is.
Mr. Irrelevant.
Man, he's doing really well for Mr. Irrelevant.
Yes, he is.
Ryan Suckup.
He's doing well for anybody.
It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody. I don't care if he's the designated number 3, which is where he was when the season began after Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo. And he was the number 3 guy, just kind of hanging around. You know, you find out, is he active on the last game? Yeah.
You know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of a younger, more feisty Ryan Tannehill.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Why is that?
Well, one, Ryan Tannehill, with all the injuries and whatnot, he kind of started slowing down, wasn't able to run around a lot. Brock Purdy's able to really escape the pocket and move around a bit. He seems to be a little bit more accurate, and he seems a lot more fiery. I mean, did you see – I don't know if you watched that game, either of you, but he was over there yelling at George Kittle on the back shoulder throw, like getting up in his face. I mean, the dude's, like, taking command.
I mean, he's got to be.
Yeah.
That's his job. And that's a thing that, you know, that a lot of young people don't want to do. They don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. They don't want to rock the boat. You know, oh, God, I might hurt Jimmy's feelings if I say something to it. Oh, my God, I can't do it. Be a leader. If your job calls for you to be a leader, be a leader. And when you screw up, own up to it. It's like Zach Wilson. I mean, have you seen this chaos in the last 24 hours now again? Right? And we can get to that later. But good Lord. This guy's job, Purdy, is to be the quarterback and lead his team to the Super Bowl. He's the quarterback, the most important position on the field, without a doubt. If George Kittle runs a wrong route, you don't have to humiliate him on the field. But you get over on that sideline and you say something to him, he wants to start talking smack back, let him have it. Let him have it. Just tell him, George, go ahead. Keep running the crappy route. Go ahead. And we get our asses beat in the first round of the playoffs, that's on me? No. I don't want to hurt his feelings. All right. Sorry, we digress. But anyway, back to this 49er thing, okay? So Minnesota can be the number 2 or the number 3 seed. That depends on, why didn't I turn this off? Who's bothering me?
Who's calling you?
Somebody
Answer
ever heard
it
of
live. Answer it live.
Nope, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Thought I turned off the ringer. Zachary wants to know who I'm yelling at. I'm not yelling at anybody. I'm just trying to say what Purdy's got to do.
Own
up.
He's yelling at the people that created participation trophies, okay?
Amen.
Well,
Robert Saleh joined that crowd yesterday. Did you read those comments about Zach Wilson yesterday?
No, I didn't.
He needs to go read a book and get away from everything.
Sometimes you just got to take a break, man.
I mean, what if that was actually kind of like a slight? Hang on, Tom. Think about it. I don't read a book. That sounds like a slight to me. It sounds like he's a backhanded comment.
You know what, Casey, you are spot on. And just when guys think that they think you're doing this kid a favor, in the New York media, this guy will be known the rest of his life, Zach Wilson. Everywhere he goes, people are going to be screaming, "Go read a book." You think I'm kidding? I'm not kidding. That's going to happen the rest of this guy's life. If Saleh would have just come out and said, which he ultimately got to, if he'd have come out and said, because the back part of his comments were actually pretty good. He came out and he said, you know what, come hell or high water, we're going to get this guy's confidence back. If you just say that, then everybody's like, you know what, okay, kid's had a rough year. He has had a rough year. He's not played great, not handled himself great after games where they lost, especially the New England game. He's been benched. He's been put back in there. He's been benched again. But don't come out and say he needs to go read a book.
I'm going to start using that one. Hey, go read a book.
It's like kick rocks.
Pissing me off, go read a book.
Yeah, it's like kick rocks.
Yeah.
I just don't know what these guys think about. And believe me, I am the king of somebody that you could say, I don't know what he was thinking about. Right? But you're not doing these guys any favors. The number 4 seed is Tampa Bay. Okay, but now is where things can get very interesting. And that is, Sir Boy Wonder says Tom must have lost lots of money on betting this week. I don't bet. And somebody called me from some town, Felicity, Ohio. Do you know where that is?
Felicity, Ohio.
I think it's way out east.
Yeah, it is.
Probably a scammer.
Might be. World's full of scammers. But at any rate, so anyway, so the Cowboys, right? The Cowboys can win the NFC East if they win their final game this weekend against the Washington Football Wizards and the Eagles lose. They will be the number 1 seed in the NFC if the Eagles and Niners lose.
Yeah.
So Philly can be everything from a number 1 seed, slip all the way down to the 5 with a loss and a Dallas win.
You know what's crazy about that? If they do get to 5, they get to replay their playoff matchup from last year, and they got demolished last year by Tampa. Do you remember that game?
I do remember that game.
That was the game people thought, oh, Jalen Hurts, is he really the real deal there?
That's right.
And that would be a nightmare, I think, for Eagles fans.
No question. Giants, and that game would be in Tampa Bay. The Giants are the number 6 seed, lock, stock, barrel, done deal, win, lose, draw, makes no difference. Now you get to the 7 seed. Right now, Seattle has a 7 seed. It's only because of they are technically 1 game better, or they have a tie break right now in a 3-way tie. But if the Green Bay Packers win their season finale at home against the Lions Sunday night, they are in. If the Packers lose to Detroit, if Seattle wins, they're in. Okay? But if Seattle should lose, the Packers are playing the Lions, so that means the Lions would have beaten the Packers. The Detroit Lions, your guys, Casey, from the very start of the year, could you imagine if we had a scenario this weekend where on the same day or night, let's call it, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Detroit Lions snuck in the playoffs?
Oh, God.
I mean, could you imagine that?
No.
Does that not make the NFL as good as it gets? I don't care how you feel about either one of those teams. But it's conceivable that by Sunday night, by around midnight, you could have the Steelers. Theirs would have been decided already. But you could have the Steelers and the Lions, after what they've been through, those teams this year and where they were at different points in time. Be pretty amazing.
Dan Campbell.
Leader of men. I did not say that.
I think you did.
I did not say that. I never said that.
I
call him the fighting Chris Spielmans.
We have Paul Dougherty.
We do. All right. Look at him again. I mean, he not only is he he's got the hair brushed. He's got a purple sweater on. Is purple your kind of color, Doc? You wear purple a lot?
I don't know. I've got some purple, yeah. Is that okay?
Well, you know what? It's okay with me because you and I were texting on Saturday, the Horned Frogs of
That's
TCU.
Right. That's right. Very impressive, Tom. You made a good call on that one.
Well, it was a biased call. I don't know if you heard before you just came on. The Bills released a statement moments ago, and we were talking about how, hospitals and doctors are very, very guarded, especially in this day and age, about the kind of words they choose. And the word was remarkable progress for Demar Hamlin in his recovery at the University of Cincinnati Medical Center. It seems like in the last 48 hours, Doc, you can hope and pray that it's going to get better and better, and at least so far, those prayers are being answered.
Well, that's fantastic. I saw I guess it was a tweet briefly right before we came on. Yeah, what you said, and that's just terrific, and credit really. And we've said this a million times, but it's worth saying a million more. An absolutely fantastic job done by the emergency medical people on site. On Monday night, that really obviously made the difference. Those people deserve more credit than anybody can possibly give them, and of course all the best to Mr. Hamlin and his family. From all that we've read about him in the last few days, he seems like an exceptional young man who had his head screwed on straight. And knew what he was on this earth for, and it wasn't necessarily to play football. So great, yeah. I mean, great news all the way around. That makes my day, and I'm sure it makes lots of days.
Doc, it's been talked about in a secondary fashion, as it should be, about things that should happen with the football side of all of this. There's no way the Bengals and Bills are coming back to Cincinnati next week and making up this game, right? No chance.
No chance.
All right, let me ask you this. Let's just play out the scenario, and I ask both Casey and Paul this question. And take the emotional part out of it for a minute. I'm just asking you a question theoretically. If you were the Bengals, strictly football speaking, and you know what we know, that if they do play the Ravens this weekend. If you make up the Buffalo game, you have a chance to be the number 1. You could be the number 2. You could be the number 3. You could be the number 5. Or you could be the number 6 seed in the AFC playoffs. Or you don't play the Buffalo game, period. You're guaranteed the 3 spot with a chance to still get the number 2 spot. Which of those two would you choose?
I think mental and physical well-being supersedes everything. And that said, I would skip that game, and whatever they're seeded, they're seeded. I don't think there's much doubt that the Chiefs, Bills, Bengals, in that order, are the 3 best teams in the AFC. Therefore, I don't see a whole lot of point in playing it over or taking it up from where it left off, Bengals, Bills. I mean, Thom, you can't just simply discount what's happened in the first 16 games of a season because you want it all to, work out, I guess, the way it's supposed to work out. If you have to make a decision here, I think you go with, what have they done so far? And it's obvious to me anyway. I couldn't even tell you who the number 4 seed is right now. Maybe the Ravens, maybe the Chargers. I don't even know.
Right.
Point being that the Chiefs, Bills, and Bengals have done better work than anyone else in that conference. And that should count for something over 16 games. And again, another week of healing, mentally especially, but also physically, is certainly, in my opinion, more important than having a more decisive seeding for the AFC playoffs.
When you were writing for the Enquirer as a lead columnist for 35-plus years, you wrote a number of columns and all spot on about Bengals ownership for a long, long time. I made the comment a little while ago that Mike Brown has not always been a great owner of a football team. In fact, you could probably make the argument there are a lot of years where he has not been a good owner in terms of trying to win games. But I think we all agree, and you've gotten to know him a little bit, I've gotten to know him a little bit, you hear stories from other people, you've acknowledged some of this in your various columns about the things he does that go, unrecognized or under the radar or unnoticed. I think right now this Bengals franchise encompasses everything there is about who Mike Brown really is. He's always been a compassionate man, a caring man, his team and his head coach showing that yesterday and really every day, but yesterday especially. His quarterback doing the same thing, talking about loving his teammates, loving one another, and now you complete the circle, as I said a little while ago, where it's really easy to like them because they're winning games. But I think this is Mike Brown's team. Does that make any sense to you?
Sure. Yeah, I think he's removed himself from the day to day. I think, even though he does still go in every day, usually really early. He's all in on all the big decisions. I don't know that he's that involved anymore in the day-to-day. Nevertheless, it's still his team. It still reflects his, I don't know what the word is, his spirit, his heart, his generosity, what have you, without reflecting a lot of the stuff that people didn't like him for, which was most of which was financial. I've said forever, even when they weren't doing well, which was quite a long time, that I thought he was a great guy. I just didn't think he was a good football guy. And that's same today, I think. I respected his football knowledge, but in the past, that knowledge has been somewhat clouded by his financial philosophies. But no, I've always said, and I even told Mike the last time I talked to him right before I retired, I said, you know what? If you and I were not in these positions, sort of an adversarial kind of relationship, at least distant professionally, I'd like to be your friend, And I meant that. He said the same thing. I think he's an interesting man. I think he's a witty guy. We've talked about it, his compassion. I think his heart is almost always in the right place. And like you said, we're seeing evidence of that now. I think the organization has been exemplary in the way it has handled its job. It's part of this dreadful week.
The NFL is an easy target. I mean, they are the king of the jungle. There's no doubt about it. And I know you had some things. You wrote about them the other night, how long it took them to cancel the game in the morningline.substack.com. You can find it and read it and all of Paul Dougherty's work there. But are they so big right now, Paul? I mean, we all agree with, if you screw things up, you got to take the heat for it. No matter who you are, no matter how big, how small, you screw up, you take the heat. Action, reaction, et cetera, et cetera. But is the NFL on things like this, Doc, almost in a no-win situation? Damned if you do, damned if you don't. You know, you play the game. You should have called it off 10 minutes before. You should have done this. You should have done that. Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Are we at a point in society where somebody like them, or really anybody, can do anything right?
Oh, I think they do lots of things right, and you know, the bottom line attests to that pretty strongly. I wrote this morning. I just posted a little while ago. I made a mistake in judgment by coming down as hard as I did Tuesday on the league's decision to wait for an hour and 5 minutes before postponing the game. I still maintain that was wrong, that they could have done it a lot more quickly than they did. That said, my timing was inappropriate. It was too soon to go off on the NFL when Mr. Hamlin was still in dire straits. That said, Thom, in my opinion, you can never go wrong being cynical about the motives of the National Football League. I think essentially their interests are guided more by image and by extension money than they are by trying to do what you would think is the right thing. You cannot tell me that a league that's concerned more than anything about the safety of its players has no problem playing 17 regular season games, has no problem making teams play, every team in the league play on Thursday night after playing a Sunday, and still has 3 exhibition games on the docket strictly for the purpose of soaking more money from the fans at the stadiums. If the NFL were truly concerned about players' health, it might be reducing the number of games, not adding it. It might be more interested in guaranteed contracts. It might have moved a whole lot more quickly on CTE and concussions and their lifelong effects than it did. As it was, the league was kind of dragged kicking and screaming into that by players and doctors who said, look, this is what's going on. You need to do something about it. I still think the NFL is guided more by its need to maintain its image and its need to make money than it is by anything else.
Yeah, and the one area that I came to learn a lot about, and it's been written about and it's been talked about, but when you start breaking down the numbers, it is appalling. And look, at the end of the day, this comes down to the strength of the union, or truly the lack thereof strength of the union, as far as the way they take care of their players once they retire. You know, Major League Baseball, you max out on the pension, you're getting paid anywhere from $250,000 to $400,000 a year for the rest of your life. There are football players that are lucky to be making $1,500, $2,000 a month, you know, well below the poverty line, when they max out on the pension. That's the area, I think, as much as anything, that the NFL, and you talk about number of games, and you talk about CTE, and they've poured literally tens of millions of dollars into bettering the equipment, research and technology on the helmets, et cetera, et cetera. But, you know, the point was made, a kid like Hamlin, if for some reason he can never come back and play football again, and he needed long-term care for the rest of his life, you know, maybe because it would be such a public thing, the Bills would just give him his health care the rest of his life, even though he doesn't get his health care from the Bills. But that the Players Union and the Players Association, nope, not going to happen.
In my opinion, I think any football player, professional football player, who becomes mentally and or physically disabled by the career he had deserves a lifetime of care. If this incident did one thing positive beyond the GoFundMe that's now over $7 million for Mr. Hamlin's charity, in essence. It showed that these guys, that they're human beings. You know, they might be covered up covered up like warriors. They might have helmets on so we can't see their faces. We might look at them as gladiators, and now we need to start looking at them as people just like you and me. They're still human beings, and a part of that should be, look, these guys put themselves on the line for our amusement every week in the fall. And when something happens to them like this, they need to be taken care of, and they can't just be forgotten. Well, you knew what you were getting into when you signed the contract. Well, sure. That doesn't mean we don't take care of them. And I think you're right. The league and the union have fallen far short of that. And maybe with this incident, things will improve.
Well, Doc, thanks as always for your insight, and this is going to be a fun weekend of football starting up and waiting to find out how this whole thing plays out. First and foremost, everybody thinking and praying for Demar Hamlin. Looks like things are moving in the right direction. So thank you for your time and for supporting the TCU Horned Frogs.
You got it, Thom, all the way, buddy.
Absolutely, all the way. Paul still even got his T-shirt, Paul Fritzner, his sweatshirt over there. Yeah, and you still got it over there from when you took it off, when you didn't put it on. No, you did have it on when you picked against him.
I did, absolutely. Horned Frogs, baby.
Ridiculous.
It really is. And you got lit up on social media, by the way.
Horned Frogs.
For doing that.
Yeah, my friend that
yeah, your friend killed you.
Yeah,
what are friends for?
He gave me the sweatshirt. I let him down.
Well, are you going to pick TCU this week?
No. He better not.
No. Georgia, minus 13.5.
It's all right, Casey.
But I will be sprinkling the TCU.
Go Horned Frogs.
Line.
That's right.
I'm gonna try and go both ways because I got my heart broken by Georgia last year, and I'm not gonna let that happen again. So I'm gonna take Georgia minus 13.5, and I'm also gonna take the TCU money line, and I can't lose. If Georgia wins by 8, so be it.
And you better wake up to the TCU Horned Frogs basketball.
Now that one I did. I was all over TCU last night at Baylor. I won a good
They stubbed their toe like the 4th game of the year. They were ranked preseason like 12th, something like that. After the deep run in the tournament, they had 2 guys that did not play in that game, and they lost to somebody terrible. But now all of a sudden, that's their only loss. They're up to 14th in the country. They go on the road and beat Baylor last night.
And it's similar. In fact, one of the broadcasters made a comment about it. Very similar to football. They were losing in this game, and it looked like things might get out of hand, but they never really let it get all the way out of hand. And then they rallied. They hit a shot out of the corner with like 4 seconds left. Baylor had a great look at the end. I don't know if you saw the end of the game, but Baylor, they advanced the ball on a home run pass, which barely ever works in college basketball. They get the ball over midcourt. They call a timeout immediately, so they have 3 seconds now. They inbound the ball, get a wide open look at a layup, and TCU's post player comes, recovers, blocks a shot, and TCU wins by 1. It was an incredible look.
Wow. All right, good. There's a new premium alkaline water out. It's called Pony. We have it right here, right? They're right across the street. Incredible. In fact, the best tasting water you've ever had. Pony uses natural limestone filtration, unlike artificial processing of many other brands. The result, it's a healthier, alkaline water that I would agree is the best tasting water in the world. Visit their website at Pony, that's P-A-H-H-N-I, P-A-H-H-N-I water.com. They're right across the street. They're local guys here in Hamilton, a startup company. Find out where you can go in and buy it at a local store near you.
Yeah. You know, I just realized the reason I got sick was because I haven't been drinking Pawnee water.
Oh, boy. How about that? Boy, I mean, is he
it's
the
been
king?
It's been like 4 or 5 days since I've had some Pawnee water.
Well, you better reload.
I need it.
Tom, we also have
who is this clown, the poofy-haired fancy boy?
Looks like your dad.
The only good thing about TCU is their synchronized swimming team. Clearly, poofy-haired fancy boy, you're not paying attention to the world of sports. Go ahead, Paul.
No, I was just going to say Encore Technologies, too, if you want to do that one.
Yeah,
we got to do that one because that's
right
the
here.
Bengals report in the Tracer.
Yeah, they sponsor
Tracy
Tracer.
Jones back this week. right? Our whole day has been the Bengals Report, and the whole thing sponsored by Encore Technologies, providing IT solutions for a data-centered world with a suite of services from mobile computing to desktop to data center, supporting both centralized and work-from-home computing models to improve efficiency and productivity. We invite you to visit encore.tech. The path to innovation begins here. We've not heard from the Tracer in a while.
We haven't heard from him in a long time.
Yeah, a long time. And I've been holding on for something for him for a
Really?
very long time. Yeah. Excited.
So where are we going with Tracer today? Where are we going?
I feel like he sort of dictates where we end up, right?
Well, he definitely wants to show us something today.
He does. That's
He
true.
does.
He wants
I'm
to
sure-
show. Oh, it's got to be the video of the Porsche, right?
Maybe.
I hope so, because he's been talking about it forever. Emperor wants to know, can we get a TCU synchronized swimming chat thread on Discord? Okay. All right. David says, hey, don't laugh at their synchronized swim team. It's a national title contender. I don't know if that's true or not. I remember, well, it doesn't matter. Okay, we got about 10 minutes before Tracer comes along.
Did you see Pete Rose put in the first bet and he took it the Reds to win the World Series? That was the bet.
Was it really?
I know we had talked about what Pete's first bet was going to be, and he put it in, and it was the Reds to win the World Series.
What are the odds on that?
Probably pretty long. I haven't even looked.
Why don't you look it up since you know where to find it? Because it would be interesting to know what that is, and what the payout. If you say you put down, $1,000, what would be a payout on the Reds winning the World Series with their current odds?
Let me see.
Okay, take a look.
It is going to the Betfred Sportsbook right now.
Of course, Betfred Sport. Where else would you go? There's nowhere else to go.
Let me take a look and see where their futures are. Major League Baseball. Dun, 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 dun. Here we go. Major League Baseball, they have not released their futures yet. My guess would be it would be somewhere in the 20 to 25,000 range on a $100 bet.
You're saying that's what the payout would be?
Yeah. On a $100 bet.
Oh, $100. That's $1,000. You're saying $250,000.
Yeah.
Right?
Somewhere in there.
Okay.
They won't have the worst odds. I'll say that. They won't have the worst odds.
Well, I don't know who could have much worse.
The Nationals and probably the Athletics.
Okay. Trying to think if there's anything on anybody else's.
We crossed 3,000 subscribers.
Woo!
How about that?
How about that? We're on our way. We thank everybody. I mean, we like giving you guys some grief. Sharon's back. Sharon's back. That means Tracer's back.
Oh, baby.
It's been. When was the last time we talked to him?
Sharon never shows up, which speaks volumes about what she thinks about the 3-4 of us, depending on what the dunce is doing over there. Brandon Seho. She doesn't think much of any of us.
No.
Only shows up when the Tracer shows up.
I wonder why.
That's what you just asked. Where's Tracy? I'm tired of you guys already. All right, anything before Tracer comes on, you guys, that we haven't talked about? It's been all Bengals. It's been all Demar Hamlin, rightfully so. And if you're just joining us, the fantastic news, it was released officially by the Buffalo Bills, though, after consulting with the medical professionals at the University of Cincinnati Medical Center, that he is making remarkable progress. It's also been reported that he is awake or has been awake. And so, thank God above.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I do have something, actually, and I bookmarked this the other day to bring this up.
Okay.
This is a fun would you rather, not would you rather game, but I'll read it out to you. I saw this on Reddit. If you were told your team's, this is NFL, if you were told your team's current record back in August, what's one assumption you would have made about them that you would have been wildly incorrect? For example, if you would have told me that the 49ers would be 11-4, I would have assumed that Trey Lance would be an MVP candidate. Or that Russ Wilson, if you're a Broncos fan, went down with a season-ending injury. Or if you're a Jets fan, Zach Wilson was becoming an NFL-grade quarterback and had finally taken that next step but got let down by the defense, which is exactly the opposite. So I thought it was a good
it is. I would have never believed the Bengals would have the record they have if somebody would have told me Jamar Chase is going to miss a month. Is that living up to what you're talking about?
Not really, because you'd have had to do that preseason. But
I see. Okay.
I'll give it to you.
Okay.
I'll give it to you.
All right. Okay. Maybe I'm off base here.
So it's based off of the record now.
Yeah.
What I would have assumed in August. Bengals are for real. They're the real deal.
But we knew that. That's not wildly inaccurate.
Sudafed's kicking in.
Sudafed's kicking in.
Yeah. I mean,
Bengals are 11-4. I tell you that in August. You assume something about the team. What would you have assumed that would have been wrong?
Man, I don't know.
Because
I wouldn't assume anything different than what we already know.
Yeah, I think the Bengals are a hard one what we know now. I mean, it's easy to say the 49ers one, right?
I would have maybe assumed they got – this is maybe tough to say. This is nitpicking. Maybe I would have assumed they got more out of Joe Mixon than they did.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Granted, I guess
I would have assumed that Joe Mixon would have rushed for 1,200 yards.
Sure.
Right? So, in essence, it's the same.
Sure.
Right.
There's some other teams that you can definitely have a more fun time with on this, but.
How about this one? Andrew says, I would have predicted the Bengals had at least 5 interceptions by defensive backs, given how solid their defense has been.
CJ makes a good point. The 4 losses coming from the Bills, Bucks, Chiefs, and Titans. That's probably the best one.
Yep, that's good.
That's a good one.
Yep.
That's a good
one.
Where is it? Nick Kirby, who, nobody knows the Reds better than Nick Kirby. I'm not so sure that Nick Kroll knows the Reds better than Nick Kirby. And that's not slamming Nick Kroll. I think Nick Kroll is totally on his game. He said a $1,000 bet would win you $300,000.
There you go. On the Reds to win the World Series.
Reds to win, not just get to the World Series, but to win the World Series. Are we going to take a break before the Tracer?
If you want to toss it to us.
Oh, we're back to that now. We're in the studio. You're back here, so we can do all
I thought you were going to make it the whole 2 hours here without going to the bathroom. I thought you were going to make it.
There is a 59-year-old man who had to get up and take his mother-in-law to the airport at 4:30 a.m.
4:30 this morning?
Well, I was up and at him shortly thereafter.
How was your travels back from Florida? Did everything
Ended
go
up
okay?
getting squared away, little dicey, but you know what? All good. Thank God, healthy, safe, everybody's okay.
Good.
So we're all right. Gentlemen,
okay,
take it away.
Throw it up there.
Ham and Eggers, real men. And get off of me if we're real men.
Yeah, well, I'm going.
Yeah.
It's that time of the show, the Ham and Eggers. These guys are great. Trust me, I would know. I introduce all the best segments.
Here we go.
And here comes the annual door close.
You know what we need to do, Casey?
Yeah, what?
We need to thank you, Reed and Brandon. We need to just sell a sponsorship there for the back of the door. We've cleared the keys off, so the back of the door there is where we keep all the keys for the office. What we need to do is we just need to sell a sponsorship. Maybe, well, I don't want to give any free ads away, but there are some pretty significant door and window companies here in the great city of Cincinnati that potentially could hook us up with some advertising. We've given Sudafed enough pub throughout the show already. What I do want to say before we get into anything else here, we've talked about it already. If you can like the video, we crossed 3,000 subscribers already. I'll take a second here to be able to look at that. A little pub that we got here from Thom. But go ahead, like the video. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Our subscription numbers are crazy right now. We look at the chat. We look at the subscription numbers. Everything keeps going up. The chat's been great the last couple of weeks. I think in the last month and a half, Casey, this show has grown. I don't know what the percentage number is, but it's a great percentage number.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's a very, very good percentage number that this show has grown. So we just want to say thanks to all of you for joining in every day, for being in the chat, and to join the Discord. I know I pubbed it a little bit ago, but there are a lot of new members right now in the show watching. So join the Discord. It basically just takes this chat of everybody that feels like has become friends. It feels like everybody in the chat has become a friend group. It's almost like it's a group chat every morning from 10 to noon. Reed and I are going to do Not Too Picky after this. In a few minutes at noon, we are going to do Not Too Picky. Mike Schmaltz is going to join, I think he's going to join via a video. I told him we could push it to tomorrow, and I don't think the box lunch guys would mind, but he said he had some thoughts he wanted to share on the Purdue and Ohio State basketball game tonight, which I will talk about here in a second. Casey, I know I'm kind of taking over here, but with the Sudafed, I didn't want to put you on the spot.
No, go ahead, man.
Anything on your mind?
The only thing I was going to talk about was just the bets that we made last night in the Discord and just kind of pumping that a little bit.
Yeah, Trace, if you're wondering what's going on in the Discord, Trace went 3-0 last night in his NBA picks. The college picks were pretty good. I think we had a winning night overall. But the NBA picks were 3-0, and we haven't lost money yet. It's January 5th. We haven't lost money yet on a day through our picks, which I think is always the most important thing, right? Any day that you don't, even if you only win a little bit, even if you're only up a quarter of a unit, you didn't lose, and that's important.
Yeah, it's important to stay green.
Yeah, exactly.
In market terms.
Stay green. Tracy Jones knows a whole lot about that. We have Tracy Jones in here, Tom. Let's take it away.
We do. The Tracer is here.
For the first time in a long time.
Well, and it's the first time Sharon Peters has been in here in a long time because Tracy's here. We know that. She proves that to us each and every week. Tracer, what's going on? You not pay the electric bill? I know we owe you money around here, so maybe you didn't get enough money to pay the bill. So could you please tell us what's going on?
Well, first of all, Happy New Year. Yeah,
Happy New Year
it's very dark. First of all, Happy New Year. It's going to be a great year. I'm going to be extremely positive. I see a lot of positive things. It's going to be a great year. I just read where Hamlin is getting better.
Yes.
There was a report released by the Bills, so he's getting better. Hopefully he can pull out of this. I'm in Southern California, and it hasn't stopped raining for 10 days. As you see, it's usually the sun is out. It's overcast, it's raining, and just a horrible day in Southern California. I know I'm trying to keep it positive. This is the worst weather, actually, that I've ever had in Southern California, even going back to when I was a kid. And I brought that up. It never rains in Southern California.
Yeah.
Sounds like a song, doesn't it?
Great song. Great song.
Yeah, it never rains. It's rained like this. And the last time I remember it raining like this was when I was a kid. And after that, after about 2 weeks of rain, we had a terrible, terrible earthquake. So I just worry about something after this because what we are seeing here in Southern California, I have not seen this in years. And my wife says, there you go, Trace, overreacting. And I'm thinking, we'll see. We'll see. Because this is just, I haven't seen the sun, like I said, in 7-10 days.
Now, Tracy, because it's so dark, you're wearing the Stars and Stripes proud on that sweatshirt, but what is that thing around your neck? Are those the things from the hoodie, or what is that?
It's just the hoodie. I got this look from my boy Fetterman from Pennsylvania. He's got the look as well. So, yeah, it's just something. You notice my flag. Love the country. And I'm sweating now. My brother's heat had not worked for 2 days. Now all of a sudden it's kicking in, and I'm wearing a hoodie. Doesn't make much sense. So
yeah, but you look like you're in a cave like in Afghanistan or something like that right now. I mean, what the hell's going on? You're staying at that highfalutin mother-in-law's house, right?
Well, we finally got kicked out of that and took south to my brother's place. I'm back in the ex-police officer where guns are scattered all over this place, right? There's a shotgun right underneath there in case anything goes down. So, yeah, we're there for, I'm actually leaving tonight on the red eye. We'll be in CVG tomorrow morning. My wife is staying for another 2 weeks. What are you going to do, right? She probably has a boyfriend here in Southern California. I wouldn't doubt it at all. You know how those
Tracer, if you're going to be back here in the hood, solo, I mean, to me, if that doesn't scream for you and me and the Ham and Eggers to get out and have a couple one night, I'm not quite sure 1 or 9. I'm not so sure that's not a bad idea. Casey, you have any thoughts on that?
No, it sounds like a great time. Have some.
Okay, well, I know where we'll go. We'll go to Huddles there on Monmouth, have a couple of cocktails, and then we will head right across the street to the BA. And that's my favorite place. I do like that form of entertainment. The girls are the best looking that you've ever seen. And, of course, they have that famous dance, the 29 with mayonnaise.
Paul, are you in?
I'm just sitting here thinking about all of the new people that we have in the chat and the numbers that have grown since the last time you've been on, Tracy, and the people that might not know about your favorite establishments in the greater Cincinnati area. You may need to do some explaining for everybody that's new, because I think we've tripled our audience since the last time you've been on here.
Yeah, it's a very – the BA, it's known as the Brass Ass, is known as a very high established what would you say, Thom? Adult entertainment? And it's a place that I like to frequent, and very, very classy. Well, in fact, the girls are the only place where you pay to keep their clothes on, right? I've said that many a times. But it's a good place. We'll go out and have a good time. If that's not happened, we'll go back across the street to the AAA place, the Brass Bull.
Hey, AAA's AAA. Sharon, by the way, said, Tracer, if you're bored, she'll meet you in Over the Rhine. Not so much in Newport.
I don't know about that.
I got to ask you on a serious note, and we'll get back to some of the nonsense stuff a little bit later, but I do want to ask you on a serious note. Everybody, is talking about Hamlin, and you made reference to him right from the start, and thank God you did. Have you ever been on a field of any kind? I mean, it could be going back to high school or whatever it might be, or in your professional baseball career, Major League Baseball career, where you were in a position where you were seriously worried about someone's life?
Well, I hear these commentators talk about, well, we've never seen anything like this in sports. Well, yes, we have. And I think your dad mentioned it the other day when I was watching the show. What about John McSherry opening day, right, when he passed and died? And John was a great umpire. Great guy. Loved John McSherry. He was actually my favorite umpire, and he was always great to me. But I'll give you something back in 1990 that happened, and I knew this guy as well, Hank Gathers. Went to Loyola Marymount, where I went to Loyola Marymount, had a bad heart. He had a situation during the season where he passed out, and they brought him to, played another game a couple weeks later, and died on the court. Hank was a very nice guy. He led the league, and this goes back to 1990, led the NCAA in rebounds and scoring, and was going to be the #1 pick, and he died on that court. And that was very sad because Hank was a really good guy.
No, you're a great guy and a great player. Exciting teams to watch. People don't remember Loyola Marymount. Yes. They were coached by Paul Westhead, who used to say, hey, look, we're going up and down the floor. Our goal is to shoot within 4 to 5 seconds, and we're not going to guard anybody, and we're just going to outscore you. And they made deep runs in the NCAA tournament. And I remember, and you'll remember this, I believe the guy's name was Bo Kimball, who was a great teammate of his.
Yes.
Yeah, and he shot a free throw. Because if I remember, Gathers was left-handed, right?
Yes, he was.
And he shot a free throw left-handed with his eyes closed in an NCAA tournament game in remembrance and in honor of Hank Gathers.
And actually made it. And Bo Kimball was a #1 pick, I think, with the 76ers. He didn't have a good career, but he was a #1 pick. So here I go to this small Jesuit school. It's a lot like Xavier. And you had the potential of having 2 first-round draft picks. And like you say, with Paul Westhead, they were up and down the court. They didn't care about defense, did they, Thom? And it was something, it was a new thing. And, I mean, they got that ball off, and it was an exciting team to watch. But when Hank Gathers collapsed, they actually had a defibrillator machine with the trainer for Loyola because they worried about that. And the school ended up getting sued for millions and millions of dollars that the Gathers family had because they thought there was, malpractice. And there was. I mean, he should not have been playing basketball.
But Tracy, that gets back to a whole debate, not pertaining to this Hamlin thing, because we don't know. Everything would be speculative. You don't know if this was a direct hit that then sent that electrical wave that sends these shock waves through the heart, and what happened to him, or whether there was something that was there that we don't know about, Bills don't know about. But Tracy, you hear it talked about all the time. They ask professional athletes like yourself, former professional athletes, if you knew, in Hank Gather's case, let's use him as an example, but I'm asking you this question. If you knew that you had something that potentially could happen based on a condition that you have already, would you want to keep playing anyway?
I don't think so. It's kind of like the concussion thing. My kid was a very good football player, and after he had some concussions playing youth, I says, we got to shut you down. It was not good. Luke Kuechly, right? The linebacker he shut it down at 28. So I think you got to worry about your health, because there is life after baseball. And let me throw something at you, Tom, and this is why I get paid a lot of money from Chatterbox to come up with things that nobody is talking about. And this is why I have a very high IQ, as you know. And I was talking to Hunter, and we were talking about Hamlin and the situation, the direct hit. I don't think he died of getting the COVID shot. I do think it was a direct shot to the heart. And I started thinking, because I looked over that hit, and I'm going, wow, I don't know what happened. Then I started thinking, I talked to Hunter about it. He says, and Hunter says, it was just, I think, a direct shot to the heart. And so we started going back. And I said, you've got to protect your heart when you play sports, I think. Not only in football, but in other sports. He says, Dad, do you remember that kid we played that was on our team? And he would wear a protector over his heart because he had a heart condition.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that. I forgot about it. But yes, some protection over his heart. I started thinking about the Hamlin thing because that was really freaky. But you know what, buddy? That could happen in baseball. Can you imagine a straight-on shot from an Aroldis Chapman fastball that hits you directly in the heart? What the hell you think would happen, right? That's something to...
Tracy, baseball has already discussed this in regard to pitchers wearing this kind of device, wearing some kind of protective device over their chest, because they're obviously closest to the batter. Once the ball is put in motion and a line drive back to the chest. I made reference to it yesterday, and that our son, who, as you know, is a lacrosse goalie,
very good player,
and they have Ohio Player of the Year, pal. They have a protective device because they're shooting 90 miles an hour. Sometimes 20 feet away, 15 feet away. And so they make them wear a device underneath by the grace of God to protect against that very kind of thing. I would not be surprised to see that being the next sort of area of, what's the word I'm looking for, of concentration in both baseball, which has already discussed it, but also in football to provide a little something more. I had made the comment yesterday, and maybe you've seen them more recently than I have, and I should have seen them, but I haven't. It used to be those shoulder pads, you threw them on, they came about like right to here, right? And then you had the shoulder, right? And I wouldn't be surprised to see something extended down below that a little bit.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised, and I'm talking about baseball here, and I'm talking about football, is almost have like a bulletproof vest, right?
Yep.
That could protect not only the heart, but Tom, what about the kidneys? What about a direct shot to the liver? Can you imagine a left hand, the liver's on your right side, right? So can you imagine as a left-handed hitter, you're thinking about Pete Rose, and the pitcher throwing 100 miles an hour and hitting you right in the liver? What the hell do you think would happen to your liver?
Yeah.
So I think kids will start wearing these. I think it's a bulletproof vest, and I'm thinking about I'm actually talking to someone about getting a utility patent on this, because I think there's a lot here. And football players, but a vest to protect the vital organs. Yeah. And I think Hamlin was a perfect example. You talk about the shoulder pads. I think the shoulder pads, when I wore them, were down here. I think they're higher.
Yeah, they are. They are definitely higher now. They're much smaller because they don't want the weight. They want to be able to move, all those kinds of things. Hey, look over your right shoulder.
Oh, hi, good boy. Come here, Dougsters. Come here, good boy. So listen to what happened last night. So Tucker's going crazy. Now, my brother lives in a residential area, right? Just a bunch of houses. You know how it is in Southern California, right, guys?
Massive humanity.
Oh, God, that's all there is. A bunch of well, that's a whole different thing. But so I let the dog out in the backyard. He goes crazy, right? I mean, this guy's an attack dog, as you can tell. He's going crazy. I had to go get him. I'm thinking, and I'm just saying, it was either a possum, a coyote, or a mountain lion. So something was in that backyard, and he went crazy. I've never seen him act like that, so I had to go rescue him because he's a good boy.
And I noticed you've given him some relief of giving him a break from his...
Can you see him? You can see him. You can't really see the nudicles, but they're hanging.
Oh, my God. What is this program coming to?
Well, let me ask you something. So we've got some newbies in this, right, Thom? They have no idea. This show's down in the gutter. Do they know what nudicles are? Do I have to replay that?
I think you might need to re-explain.
Yeah, you might need to re-explain what happened and what brought the whole thing on, because when you brought it up, I mean, I'm rolling my eyes and I'm thinking, this is ridiculous. The ham and egger Casey was over there, looked it up immediately and said, this is legit.
It is legit.
Well, this is kind of a sad story. Tucker had testicular cancer. It was a big deal, and we had to have his testicles removed.
Yeah.
Well, it's like when you get married, you get those testicles removed. I mean, you got nothing, right? There's nothing going on, and it was very sad. And I did a lot of research, and I thought, man, what can we do? So I went on the internet, and I found some nudicles where he implanted nudicles into Tucker. And the problem, and Danae makes fun of me all the time, and I think you've kind of taken a shot at me, Thom, bull mastiff nudicles. I says, go big or go home. So he got bull mastiff nudicles that maybe were a little too big for Tucker. Tucker, do you like your nudicles? He likes them. So he's happy. And I got to tell you, when he goes to that dog park, those girl dogs, and even a few of the male dogs, which is fine, nothing wrong with that, are sniffing around those nudicles.
All right, so now everybody who's new to the program is brought up on nudicles. Tracer, say hello to Casey and Paul, the ham and eggers. Been a while.
Tracy, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and all that.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
Yeah. Boys, you're looking good. Let's keep it real positive this year, okay? Real positive. Hey, did you get that car that I sent you, my mother-in-law's Porsche car? Did you get that video?
I have it if you want it.
Let Thom watch this.
All right, I want to see this. Please roll it.
Go ahead.
All right, you ham and eggers. Here's the Porsche, not Porsche. It's pronounced Porsche, that my mother-in-law has. Small price tag, $268,000. Tax and license, of course. Pretty nice car. I know you guys probably didn't think this existed. Not bad for a 70-year-old woman to get a car like this. Very successful. Look at that. Top down. Boy, you two ham and eggers, think about this. How fast would you dump your girlfriend and fiance driving around in a car like this in SoCal? Tell you what, get a car like this, you two guys could even pull some pretty nice wool in this, no doubt about it. There's the Porsche emblem. All right. Hope you enjoyed the video. On with the show.
It's a big league car, Trace. Color, silver interior, gray, whatever they call it. It probably has some fancy name to it instead of gray or silver.
Well, what's funny about this, guys, and this is people are going to think, Sharon's really going to be down on me. I'm going to lose my man card here. Danae's mom is really nice, and she likes me. She always calls me the famous son-in-law that she has. But she has said that, Trace, you can drive it anytime. I have no guts and no ball. He has the balls. I don't. There is no way I would have the guts to drive that car. Would you guys? Would you get out there and drive a $268,000 Porsche?
Are you kidding me? I'd get out way outside of L.A., maybe like driving towards Palm Springs or to Yuma or somewhere like that, and I'd open that bad boy up at about 120, 125, top down, roll it. Of course I would drive it. Are you kidding?
No, I wouldn't.
See, that's the difference between me and you guys. You people live on the edge. I don't drive over 55 miles an hour. I've never had a ticket in my life. Not a parking ticket. I play by the rules. See, Thom, you would be driving like some maniac, right? Get pulled over.
No doubt.
To give mother-in-law that ticket, and what would happen? You'd end up in a divorce, and the inheritance would be completely cut out, and that's what I'm focused in on.
I wouldn't drive it, Tracy. I'm too tall. I wouldn't drive it. I wouldn't fit.
It is. It's tight. It really is, but what a nice car.
Boy, that's a big league car. There's no doubt about it. I think Sharon said she'd love to check that car out, Tracer.
Well, tell Sharon, and I know she's been – it does have a back seat, and I know Sharon's been to the back seat, so yeah. Sorry, Sharon.
Did you have something you've been saving up, Casey? Did you tell me before we went on the air? That was it?
That was it.
Okay, all right. Is there anything else, based on what may or may not have happened around the holidays? Anything you want to bring Tracer up to speed on?
How was the first holiday at your new house? Was there anything that?
It was good. It was good. I got the fiance a nice pair of shoes. Got her.
That's weak. Go ahead. Well, sorry. What did I say? Something? Go ahead.
Got her a few.
You got her some socks.
Got her some socks. Got her some pairs of clothes and stuff.
And your mother-in-law?
And not my mother-in-law. No.
Did you get her anything?
I did not.
Oh.
Okay.
I did not.
Good.
What I should say, what I did give her was moving out of her house. So.
Yeah.
But I this year was actually pretty good. I got a nice some power tools, got a gas grill, got some decorations for the house.
Was it a green egg? The grill? Was it an egg?
No.
No. We'll get there. No. I don't have one.
Tracy, are you a fixer-up-it kind of guy? I mean, would that be something, power tools, that you'd like to get for a birthday or Christmas or something like that?
This is going to surprise you guys, but yes, I actually like to fix things. I know you think, Trace, you would hire people, right? I probably got 10 people that I hire. I do a lot of work on my apartments. I do it myself. Hunter and I do it. And so
really?
I like it. But you got to have the tools. You have to have the tools.
So are you better, some guys' strength lies in electrical, some in plumbing, some in HVAC, things like that. Do you have a strength maybe more so than some of the others, or a weakness?
I'm a good tile guy.
Oh, okay, that's a good one to have.
Yeah, it is. I find it challenging to get the measurements down, and I'll do that. I'll get my hands dirty. Unlike you, Thom, I can actually do some of that stuff. What did you get Paulie for Christmas, by the way?
I got I actually got this is really going to excite you, Tracy. I got a couple of really nice pairs of pants. And if you know me, you know that I needed those. So I got a really nice sweater, I got a couple of pairs of nice pants, and I got there was something else that I got. Oh, here's one for you. My girlfriend, actually, this is pretty cool. My girlfriend, she's a really good artist. She painted a picture that she and I took at the Grand Canyon last year. She painted it for us, for me, I guess. Very heartfelt.
I gave you a suggestion. I gave you a suggestion last time, but you guys don't listen.
They don't.
You're too busy talking. You don't listen. What about a gift both you guys can share, like the handcuffs? Right? I talked about that.
You did talk about that. That's true. You did. You're right.
A blindfold, handcuffs, very inexpensive gifts that you both can share in.
Sharon?
And speaking of Sharon, Thom?
There was something I wanted to ask you about, and after that last comment, it completely juggled my mind, and now I'm kind of off kilter here a little bit because.
Well, let me ask you this: do you guys have
some? No, go ahead. I thought I remembered.
No, a New Year's resolution. Do you guys? Because I'm all about New Year's resolutions. Oh, I'm big in this. I actually write my stuff down. Some stuff I can't share with you, but I write my goals and their New Year's resolutions, and I try to execute by the end of the year. I'm very organized, very anal that way.
Okay, well,
do you guys
give us 2 or 3 of your more important ones, if you could put them in order.
Well, some of the stuff's real personal, but health is
fine.
number one. I don't want to be corny about that, but my fasting, I am really wanting to fast maybe 4 days a week. If I can do that, I'll be very happy. I'd like to do that. I got to get my will and trust updated, especially now that Danae is here in California for 2 weeks. That needs to be adjusted. Probably have to see a divorce lawyer here somewhere in Kentucky. But there's just other things. I want to help people out.
Yeah.
I want to be a little generous. I really do. I'm very fortunate. I'm very lucky. I'm very blessed. God has been so good to me, not to get to, but I want to help people out. So
amen to that.
Just a couple of those things.
Amen to that.
That was rather boring, wasn't it?
No, it's not at all. In fact, I find it. I find those to be wonderful things to think about, care about, especially when you're talking about helping out other people and those less fortunate. I think it's fantastic. And now I remember what I was going to ask you. It was suggested on the chat, going back to your old days at on the radio, where you were joined regularly by a very small cast of characters, but a memorable cast of characters, starting with, I think his name was Richard from Indian Hill. And was it Rod from Norwood? Was that it?
Rod from Norwood, Richard from Indian Hill. I also had Dr. William Bradford, who was a child psychologist, and he said that the most important thing that you could be as a parent is to be your child's best friend. Forget about trying to be a parent. Be your child's best friend. The thing about Dr. Bradford that I thought was incredible is like Tucker. He had cancer of the testicles. So he couldn't even have kids. So it was really strange. He's giving my audience advice, and he had no testicles. So what does he know about raising kids? So I thought he was an interesting guest as well. But Richard from Indian Hill, people hated Richard from Indian Hill. You know what, guys? He drives an Aston Martin. How can you hate a guy like that?
But let me ask you, in the chat, they're bringing it up. Now that you're a regular part of this program, is there any chance that we could have, linked up, whatever Zoom or whatever it is we're doing?
Sure.
Linking up with Richard from Indian Hill?
Well, I just talked to Richard. He's on his jet. He's taking off his jet going down to Palm Beach. He'll be back next week if you guys would like to talk to him, maybe get some advice on the stock market. Really has trouble talking with the average person. I think he'll talk over a lot of people's head, but I'll break it down and tell you what he's really saying. We could have him. We could have Rod from Norwood. Rod's a hard worker. He repairs lawnmowers. So right now it's not a real good business. And maybe Junior. We could have his kid, Junior, on the show too. Junior's 12 years old. Okay, he's about 350. And there's nothing wrong with. I think he's fat. Rod Rod from Norwood think he's just big boned. To be 12 years old and over 300 pounds, I think that's bigger than, being big boned. So maybe we'll get those guys on the show. I think people would like it. And also, Casey, wait a minute. Let me just say this, and this is kind of setting it up for the future. Rod runs a daycare there in Norwood. It's a no-frills daycare. So he usually has about 15 kids going. You're allowed one change of diaper. You have peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Casey, when you get a little one, and Paula, you'll eventually get married and have kids, let's take him to Rod's daycare. It's very reasonable. I think the whole day is like $6, and you can't beat that. Now, sometimes Rod likes to check out and do his thing with the lawnmowers, and Junior will watch the kids.
Yeah, maybe.
Casey.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a great time for my kid.
Yeah, if you guys just let me know, and I'll tell the boys, and we'll get on, and we'll take this. They've each got a different story to tell, and I think you'd enjoy it.
Tracy, I just got to say that, we mentioned some new people in the chat, a lot of new audience members. Our audience is, like I said, probably tripled since the last time you were on. One new member that is watching the show, or watching your segment at least for the first time today, is my mother, who really appreciated your comments a few minutes ago from my girlfriend. She just sent me a text and said, wait, what did he just say? So, appreciative for the family, too. I just wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page. What does she look like? I appreciate it. What?
What does she look like?
Paul?
Holly?
I mean,
she's a very nice woman. I love my mom. Tracy, I'm sure.
Yeah,
you'd love
I know,
her.
but what is she?
That's
not what I asked you.
I'm sure you'd love her too.
Oh, I'm sure I would.
All right.
Oh wait, the other question I had for you though, Tracy. I know you're a financial advisor. What is your advice for all of the people that have now invested their money into sports betting?
Oh, very interesting. I see a lot of kids. I was at a high school not too long ago, and those guys were on their little app, with their DraftKings, right? You can play some bets. I love it. I love to place bets. I like to gamble. I'm giving you too much inside information here.
Well, Tracy, now our big sponsor here on the program is Betfred Sportsbook. They're the official sportsbook of the Cincinnati Bengals. And now they have joined ranks with us here at Chatterbox. So you got to get on that app now.
I will. I promise you I will. And I will be placing some bets. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to bet $1,000 on the Reds this year.
To do
That's
what?
Right. To win the championship of the division, NL Central. See, Thom, the problem with you is you're too negative. It's New Year's. What did I say at the beginning of the show? I'm going to be very positive. Now, it might be stupid, but I'm going to be positive.
I wasn't being negative. You just said you're betting $1,000, and we were talking about this earlier. I don't know if you heard this or not because you're out in Southern California with all the beautiful people out there. But Pete Rose placed the first bet at the new sports book at 12:01 over the weekend. And he bet on the Reds to win the World Series. So that's why I asked you. You were betting $1,000 on what? Well, clearly your answer was different than what Pete Rose bet on. And Nick Kirby pointed out to us, I threw it out there, because Major League Baseball has not apparently put odds out officially, the sports book.
Right.
But that if you bet $1,000 for the Reds to win the World Series, you'd make over $300,000.
I would think a little bit more. That's all I would make. I thought it would be a little bit more. But, there's always surprises. And I just want to compliment Pete. There's people that said, Pete bet against us, right? And I totally disagree. See, he always bets on the Reds to win. See, that's a perfect example. His first bet was the Reds to win.
Very well put. What's the FQI in Southern California at a football game?
Oh, it's very high. Oh, it's very high. Yeah, that's the fan quality index. And we've talked about this a little bit. You want a good quality of fan going to the game, right? You want someone that's going to spend money. You don't want a bunch of you don't want a bunch of people coming from Norwood to watch a Reds game. You really want Indian Hill, people from Bellevue, maybe a couple people from Terrace Park, but we really want to stay away from people Norwood, Anderson, Mason, those people, because they're too tight. They're not going to spend a lot of money.
Okay.
The highest FQI, fan quality index, is up there in San Francisco, where you sit down, they give you a glass of wine, Silver Oak, and some Dungeness crab, maybe some sushi, and they're willing to spend the money to buy those products. So that FQI is a lot higher than you would say at some of these other ballparks.
Well, I think the FQI at Paycor Stadium is going to be off the charts this Sunday. And you'll be back in town for it solo. So maybe we get down there on Sunday.
What are we going to do afterwards, though?
Well, it all depends on whether Casey and Paul are going to hang with the masses or whether they're just going to bottle up in, wherever it is they like bottling up. Mason.
Yeah. Oh boy, I'm going to go to Panera. A big deal for you guys is seeing a girl in yoga pants. Whoa, boy, get all excited over that. Go to the BA. You'll really see something.
Tracer, have a good day, my man. Have fun out there in Southern California.
All right. I'll see you guys. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Great to have Tracy back. Nothing like the Tracer.
Nothing like him.
No one like him. No one like him. Boy, Sharon, I'm telling you now. I mean, she loves just lighting people up on this thing.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, she's just stirring it up like nobody's business. All right, fellas, do we have a cherry on top today?
The cherry on top is the news about Demar Hamlin.
I was getting ready to, even before I asked, you know what? No doubt about it. The great news today presented by United Dairy Farmers. Again, if you weren't with us earlier, the Buffalo Bills released a statement roughly about an hour and a half ago, per consult with the medical professionals at the University of Cincinnati Medical Center, that Mr. Hamlin is making remarkable, that was the word they used, is making remarkable progress. And all signs continue, thank the Lord above, to get better and better and better and better every single time we hear something about it. One last check, I guess, before, just to make sure. I think we all universally agree. There's no way that the NFL is going to play this game, make up this game between the Bills and the Bengals. There's just no way that's going to happen. And I'll probably be proven wrong. Oh, here you go. This is one last update. You got that Ian Rappaport update?
Yeah,
we got
it. Okay, here it is right here. Demar Hamlin opened his eyes last night and is responsive, truly incredible. One thing that's very clear from speaking to those close to him, they are endlessly appreciative of the medical care given to Hamlin. See, this is where Ian Rappaport, and I have all the respect in the world for the guy, give the people, give the place where it's happening. Name them. Name the place where it's happening. It's good for them, and they've earned it. The medical care given to Hamlin on the field immediately, and then over the last 72 hours at the University of Cincinnati Medical Center.
I'm pretty sure they did name the person a few minutes ago who actually gave him the CPR. I think they did. I saw the Bills athletic trainer was who did it.
Gave the CPR.
Gave the CPR. Yeah, I don't have his name. I know that's something you were just talking about. But they here we go. Danny Kellington.
Send that to me.
Danny Kellington. I'll send it to you right now.
Performed the vital CPR.
It's in your inbox. Casey.
Not all heroes wear capes.
Bills assistant athletic trainer Danny Kellington is the one that administered CPR to Demar Hamlin. And it's coming up on your screen in about 5 seconds. Here it comes.
So this is our cherry on top.
This right here.
This guy right here.
Get the tweet in it too, Casey, if you can.
Yeah, I want to.
It's one thing, and I heard on the radio yesterday someone talking about how the NFL They can't control everything, but they are prepared for virtually everything, and they just never let up on the gas pedal on making sure all of their medical personnel throughout the entire league are ready for anything and everything that can happen. Doesn't mean you can't stop anything from happening or prevent it from happening, but to be ready in case something does. And clearly, the Bengals trainers are no different. No team in the league's trainers are any different. But these guys in Buffalo, they were ready, and they saved a man's life. And they're, there's no way you can repay somebody for that, except saving a child's life or your children's life. Nothing more important. All right, fellas, been a lot of fun. Tomorrow, big day, big day.
Yep. Reed and I are about to do Not Too Picky here in just a second. We're going to throw it to break and come back. And then tomorrow we have picks. We have all the preview talk for the weekend for the NFL. We will not do too much tomorrow on the national championship game because we're going to save that for Monday.
Yes.
We'll save most of the national championship talk. Monday is going to be huge. Either way, no matter what happens with the Bengals, it'll be big. But tomorrow we'll have all our picks. We'll have the NFL preview, Bengals preview. Guests, do we have?
We're working on that. Do you make yourself look good on one show at the expense or the possibility of looking bad on another where you pick different teams of the same
Absolutely
games on
not.
one show as opposed to the other?
No.
So then, you can show up on Not Too Picky and look like you're the king of the jungle. Or, conversely, you show up here and you can look great, but terrible on the other show.
People do that where what they do is they'll DM people. So say I DM 1,000 people and I give them one pick, and then I DM another 1,000 people and I give them the opposite pick. Well, then the other 1,000 people don't like me. I don't need to talk to them anymore. But those other 1,000 people, I got it right. Well, they think I'm a genius, right? So then I take 500 of them and I split my picks halfway. Those 500 people think I'm a genius. There, I'm 2-0 to those 500 people. Then I split those people. I go to 250 people. I'm 3-0. And then all 250 of those people sign up for my subscription site. So when people talk about, paying for picks and everything like that, there are people that are very sharp, that are good. I've never paid for a pick in my life. But there are people that are very good and know how to bet and are worth it for that. But there are also a lot of people on the internet that's advertised that they are selling their picks that you have to be careful of because of something like that.
Point.
So you bring up – I do not do that. I very much do not do that. But that is something that people do.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. The investigative journalist in all of us comes out a little bit. You start prodding around, right? Okay. Casey, glad you're feeling better.
Thank you.
Double down on that medication. To get good night's sleep.
Yeah, I'm going to actually take another Sudafed here soon.
Okay, good. Brandon, that tired stash, still with us. Going to be with us through February. Paul, have a good day.
Absolutely.
Everybody have a good day. We thank all of you. We joke around a lot about the audience getting bigger and bigger, but it is, and we thanks to all of you. And come back and join us tomorrow. Not Too Picky is right around the corner. This is Chatterbox Sports Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day.
At United Dairy Farmers, we've perfected freshness in our family bakery, where we use only the finest ingredients, like thick, high-quality glazes on our signature donuts, before delivering them fresh from bakery to store every day. UDF, made for you.
If your AC or furnace is struggling, turn to the experts at Bartell's Heating and Cooling. Their certified technicians get the job done right the first time. And if you need a new unit, Bartell's will give you upfront pricing with no hidden fees. Plus, ask about Bartell's 0% interest financing for 60 months. Learn more at bartellsheatingandcooling.com. Bartell's Heating and Cooling, for a comfortable way of life. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, proudly sponsoring high school football with 3 locations in Mason, Liberty Township, and Ross, Ohio. Our 10-foot screens guarantee a great view from every seat in the house. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, the best place in Cincinnati for sports, food, and fun.
Where can you turn when you're in pain? Turn where more high school, college, and pro athletes turn. We're your neighbors and weekend warriors turn. Turn to Beacon Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and get superior care on your schedule. That's the Beacon difference.
Check out our fresh arrivals at Jake Sweeney Used Cars. Over 250 used vehicles weekly. All makes, all models. From economy to luxury, Jake Sweeney, the original used car superstore.
Welcome into Not Too Picky, and boy, am I excited for this one. It is January 5th, 2023, and this is our first episode read since sports betting has launched in Ohio.
First in the new year? It looks like you haven't shaved since last year.
I haven't. Haven't shaved since I've lost money.
Tough.
Casey. Yeah. How are you, man?
I'm doing better. Getting more healthy. And
Okay.
You look great, kid.
You look good.
I don't look green, but I am green.
Okay.
I'll make it some money. I like the Chris Evans shirt you got going on there, too, supporting our third-string running back.
All right, so we got a lot going on tonight.
Some good games,
some great games. It's been a great week. We've advertised the Discord a lot, but if you want to get in, if you want to have that betting conversation through all the games, through the nights, and everything like that, it's been very active. It's been a lot of fun. We just crossed. Beans joined. Beans is in there.
Super Whale Ultramax play.
Super Whale Ultramax mega unit play. Beans. We crossed 100 in the Discord. Triple digits.
We need to get the Wilt Chamberlain, the hundreds.
The hundreds. Stick it up right there.
Put it in the Discord.
So we have a lot to talk about today. No Mike Schmaltz today. Mike will be on tomorrow if you guys are okay with that for a few minutes during the box lunch. He sent me some picks though. I asked him if he wanted to do a couple of things. I gave him some options.
Yeah.
He said, I said, you want to just scrap everything, do it next week. I said, the people will miss you. What do you want to do? He said, well, here, I have some things I got to get off my chest about Purdue and Ohio State tonight. And actually, he sent me a couple of games for today that I will read to you in a minute. But he also has a million NFL picks that he can give tomorrow. And he's already done the research and everything. So we'll get to that tomorrow. Yes.
So before we get into the picks, and
yes.
before we start just rapid firing at it, obviously the big ticket right now is college basketball, getting you through the week. A lot of games tonight, a lot of games last night, a lot of games on Tuesday night. And that's what we're going to see throughout, going forward. You're a big college basketball guy. I would say, sometimes would even say, you're a sharp bettor in college basketball. When you're looking at lines, what are you looking for?
Okay, so there are different systems that you can play where you don't maybe want to spoil what the system is because it'll affect how the line is if too many people get on it, whatever. I don't personally look that way. There are computer algorithms. I don't want to sound too nerdy here, but you look at KenPom, you look at some other sites that predict what the final scores of games are going to be. And a lot of times those scores are very close, within a half a point of what the Vegas line is. But sometimes, and I'm going by KenPom here, sometimes those lines are 2 to 3 points off of what the line is in the actual game. So, for example, there could be a game that's predicted to end 72-64, but the line is a pick'em, or it's a -1.5, and I think, all right, what's fishy about this line? Mm-hmm. And you take the favorite or whatever it might be to look into it like that. Those are some of the things that I look at when I'm looking at games. Sometimes you just go by the feel, like LSU and Kentucky the other night. Trace's system said Kentucky. But I've watched so much Kentucky this year that there was just no way that Kentucky team could cover a double-digit spread, even at home. They just don't score the basketball. So Kentucky or the college basketball, it's very much a feel sport to me. There are obviously a lot of things you can do. There are a lot of really good handicappers in college basketball, but it's such a crapshoot in college basketball when you get down to the end of the games and they just start fouling. It's just – you just never know what's going to happen at the end of a game because in the NBA, they don't foul. I mean, yes, there's a here and there. But
right. You're not getting past it because they're not going to get the foul. Starscream with an incredible comment on Wilt Chamberlain.
When you reach 10,000, you can bring up another.
Do you know his 10,000 milestone?
No.
He claims to have slept with 10,000 women in his life.
Wilt
Chamberlain.
Wow.
Which, if you do the math, it's like 4 women a night.
Doesn't he get tired? Don't you get tired?
God, it is. It's an incredible feat
if it's true. And this came out like 10 years ago when he wrote his
10,000?
10,000.
Just got to get tired after a while.
Absolutely. So,
tired.
in essence, one of the first things you look at is when Ken Pomeroy, his algorithm, and when Vegas disagree, you're saying there's an edge there.
Look,
sometimes
there are people in this office that are dedicated to a certain system.
There's a religion in this office, yes.
And I very much, I mean, I said it yesterday on Box Lunch that when I picked LSU and you guys came in and said the system picked Kentucky, like I dropped my head and I said, oh man, I was already in on LSU. Well, Ken Pom is my system. And it is right more often than it's wrong when you time it the right way. You can't really like run it in a computer. Like I can't just punch all the data. Sometimes you have a system where you can just punch all the data in and say, well, if the home team covers by this much in one game, the next game they don't do this. Like there's no way to quantify what I do. I just sort of look at it and get the feel of it.
Nick Kirby with some picks in there. Make sure that we are going to have a chat pick by the end of this show. We're going to pick one out, and that is going to be the chat pick. But as you said, there was a disagreement in the two religions in this chat, and as the history of man has shown, religions aren't afraid to disagree from time to time.
Okay, so Nick Kirby giving out Vermont -2.5, North Texas -3.5. North Texas is a very, very good mid-major team. My favorite that I got last night, Nichols -1.5, but that line fell to -3.5. We should say we are also sponsored by the Betfred Sportsbook. We haven't done that here on this show, so we're going to take our lines from the Betfred Sportsbook when possible, especially when you get on those early lines. Let's see here. Let's go. Oh, okay. I have a couple tonight, and I'm going to do Mike's picks first. Let me go and pull up. Okay, from Mike Schmaltz. I got some phone calls, and we have to leave for lunch, so I can't do the video. I asked him if he wanted to pre-record a video and just and I'd play it up there. We've done that before. If you want to do tomorrow, all my stuff still applies, but I have some picks for tonight. Big men's basketball bargain, Queens, a pick'em, -110 at Bellarmine. Queens is new to Division I this year.
Bellarmine isn't old.
Queens averages 80 points per game, gives up 72. Bellarmine averages 67, gives up 64. Queens has played a decent schedule, first year in the A-Sun. So he's taking Queens in the pick'em -110 at Bellarmine. I do like Queens. They have played better this year. I can't believe I'm talking about this. Queens. Not out of Queens, New York. Queens, North Carolina.
Oh, that hurts.
I know. Ohio State -125 over Purdue. Ohio State a better offensive balance. Buckeyes beat Rutgers by 1. Purdue just lost to Rutgers by 1. Transitive property. OSU averages 81 points per game. Based on the above, while we're at it, let's take Rutgers -215 over Maryland at home. Let's just throw that one in there.
Love it.
Based on what we're doing transitive property, let's throw it in there. So that's Mike. So take Rutgers from Mike. Rutgers money line, Ohio State money line, and Queens. To pick a money line to spread, it's the same thing. Queens money line. So I have something for you.
Okay.
I'm
intrigued.
Let me pull it up here because
your line, your picks.
Yes, so I have a million picks, and I'm going to let you while I'm picking it up.
Well,
go ahead.
There's two lines that are actually pretty intriguing in the Big Ten tonight in two of the bigger games. That is obviously the Purdue-Ohio State game. That is a 1-point spread.
Yep.
I believe. Favored in the way of the number 1 team in the country and the Purdue Boilermakers. And then the other line is Iowa is favored against Indiana. Those are both intriguing lines, and if you just hate John Mellencamp and everything that is the Hoosier State, you could parlay those bad boys together and just shock the world if both those interesting lines.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to give you, because I do think that we need to give picks for both the Indiana and the Ohio State games.
Okay.
Because those are probably the two biggest games in the country tonight.
There's a game over in Los Angeles. It's pretty big.
UCLA?
Versus USC.
USC. UCLA is like a 13-point favorite in that game, though. 11? Okay. Hold on. Let me pull this back up.
I'm taking UCLA, by the way.
I am also taking UCLA. UCLA is very good.
Lock it in. UCLA
I'm also taking UCLA.
Hell yeah.
All
City
right.
of Angels.
Hold on here. Hold on. I know I'm doing
Two
this
big
live.
Mick Cronin guys right
Are
here.
you taking UCLA money line or spread?
No, spread.
Okay.
They are, yeah. Okay, so here it is. The Jimmy Chitwood parlay.
Ooh.
I cooked this up last night.
The Hooge.
The Jimmy Chitwood parlay. Indiana money line, Purdue money line. Both underdogs. I don't think this is going to hit. But I'm going to give it out. Plus 309 for both Indiana and Purdue to win on the road in the Big Ten.
Then you can do the opposite side, the anti-John Mellencamp.
Which might be smarter because I am going to give out Ohio State. I think Ohio State matches up extremely well with Purdue in this game. Ohio State has some very big physical guards. Purdue relies on their freshmen out there on the wings. Purdue's very good, obviously, the number one team in the country. They lost to Rutgers. I don't think Purdue deserves to be the number one team in the country. I'm not calling them frauds. I'm not saying this is a team.
You're leaning that way. I'm just kidding.
This is a team. Yeah, this is not a team that they could make a Final Four. I just don't think that this is the elite number one type of team that you're looking. This is not like a massive 2018, or 2021 Gonzaga type. Like obviously they lost to Rutgers at home. Like that. There is no one big dominant team this year right now in college basketball. I think Ohio State really matches up with Purdue well, especially in the post. You look at Zed Key. You look at these guys that can just throw their bodies around against Zach Edey. I think Zach Edey can have a decent game, but I think that the post play of Ohio State at least has the size to throw themselves around against Edey well enough to match up. This is at home. Ohio State doesn't have football to care about anymore. Ohio State minus 1.5.
I think the Paul's pick of the day on the rebound rundown was the over.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So Paul's pick of the day on the rebound rundown. On
a bit of a skid.
So I started hot.
1-0. Undefeated.
I
never lost.
In the second day. For those who don't know, the Rebound Rundown, 10-minute everyday college basketball podcast. It's not live, it's recorded. It's into your podcast inbox every morning. I close the show now since sports betting is launched. I close it with a pick of the day. First pick, got right. Second day, I decided between LSU and New Mexico. I went with New Mexico instead of LSU. New Mexico lost, LSU covered. So what? Tonight, I didn't find a spread that I like. The problem with doing Paul's pick of the day
is you got to come up with something.
I got to come up with something every day. And again, this goes back to what Casey was talking about with you don't have to bet everything. I wanted to do something that could at least give you some sort of a pick, something to look at every day if you're watching college basketball. There's a couple of very big flaws with Paul's pick of the day. One is I have to get the opening line. Like I can't look at line movement. I can't look at any of the money coming in.
You record it the night before.
I record it the night before around midnight, about 15 minutes after the lines drop. So I'm just gut reaction. Hey, what kind of maybe makes sense? What doesn't? I don't really get to look. You don't get any last minute injury updates. You don't get any of that. It's just sort of, hey, let's see, throw something at the wall and see what sticks. I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying. The other thing too is forget it. I was going to make an excuse. I'm not going to make an excuse.
No excuses.
No excuses on Paul's pick of the day. No excuses.
You put out the over at 141, right?
Yeah.
It's been bet down. On Betfred, it's 138.5.
Okay, I don't like that, but
well, if you didn't lock it in, and if you stick hard with it, that's. I mean, obviously it's betting the other way, but
okay, I know
you get a better chance now.
Yeah. So my pick of the day was Ohio State and Purdue over 138.5. I just didn't see a side anywhere tonight that I felt like I had an edge on. There was a couple of games that were like 1.5 off from Ken Pom, but I didn't want to watch. I try to incorporate games that people will watch too, like a nationally televised game. I'm not going to give a pick of the day. Maybe I will eventually if things really start to go south. But I don't want to give a pick of the day on some random mid-major that you got to find a bootleg stream on. Let's find something that we can all watch and be in the Discord and do like a group pick together.
Right.
That's part of it too. And I think this game tonight, I will not be able to watch Purdue and Ohio State tonight, sadly. I'll have to go back and watch it later. I'm going to be at Xavier and UConn women tonight.
Women.
Gino not coaching tonight.
Oh, no.
Under the weather.
Doesn't come to Cincinnati.
Doesn't like Skyline. So the Jimmy Chitwood parlay, which I don't think is going to hit. I think there's a very good chance that Iowa and Ohio State wins.
Where do you sell it?
But
You know what?
I'm just putting it out. If you are from the Hoosier State and want to take the 2 Indiana teams to win, pays it at plus 309.
You want another parlay?
Hit me with
I took your over because I'm a religious listener to the Rebound Rundown.
Yeah.
We both are on UCLA tonight against USC. And you know what? I thought that line, Iowa, was a little hanky. So I'm taking the Hawkeye. So slide on over here a little bit. Slide on over here. Because right over there. There's the parlay.
Oh, look
right
at that.
there. Look at that.
Look at that.
Iowa,
Man.
-1.5. UCLA, -11.5. The over on OSU, Purdue, gets you pretty much 6-1 odds. I'm going to ride that.
I'll ride that too. I'll do that with you.
I'll ride that. 6-1
I'll
odds.
do that with you.
That's the official not too picky parlay tonight.
The picky parlay.
The picky parlay.
I
Wasn't
love
too
it.
big. Let me take it off now.
That's not Paul's parlay. The PP still lives. All right, go ahead.
PP? Casey, you got anything
Casey,
for us?
well, Casey has. We can give you some time if you're not ready yet.
Yeah, I mean, usually I bank my parlays off of Thursday night football, Monday night football. There's none of that this weekend, so
Saturday
I'm a little
night?
behind.
You're a big hoop head.
Yeah, definitely. I'll probably come up with some football parlay here in a second. Just give me some time.
You'll fire it up in the Discord if it doesn't make the show. The one other thing I will say about the over in the Purdue-Ohio State game, I'm going to double down. And I'm going to take the over in the first half.
Oh, wow. Okay.
65 points is what we got to conquer. Both teams averaging 38 points in the first half.
I got to say something else. Brandon Seho, not a gambler.
Guy knows puck.
Now he is a gambler. My man knows puck.
He knows puck. He's firing out National Hockey League picks left and right and hitting the parlays.
I mean, he hit 2 unbelievable parlays in the first 3 days of betting being launched here in Ohio.
My man has fallen head over heels for this thing, responsibly, of course.
Make sure you're in the Discord because Trace gives his winners. Trace was 3-0 yesterday in the NBA. I don't think we've had a losing day yet. Nathan Hines, in honor of Casey, my parlay was close yesterday, but we all know what close get. Well, if you're close, we're all close.
What's the tagline?
Almost always almost hit.
And almost always almost hits.
Almost always almost hits.
Okay, let me take a real quick rundown. We also have the NFL to talk about, Reed. Was there anything that's jumped off the page with you with the NFL?
Well, because the final week to bet on in the NFL is tough because you're really grasping at straws on who's going to play, who's not going to play, especially with the situation that happened earlier this week where even more was thrown up in the air because we don't really know how the playoff situation is going to shake out. The Bengals line came out. It's a touchdown, which is a crapshoot because you don't know if they're going to play. You don't know who's going to play, if Lamar's going to play. You don't know if Joe Burrow's going to play. So there's a whole lot going on there. No, not a whole lot stuck out to me other than I think I like Saturday night to take Jacksonville a touchdown over the Tennessee Titans. That is a winning get in for the AFC South. Whoever wins that game is going to be the division winner. Tennessee's on their third-string quarterback. Trevor Lawrence has looked really good. They're at home, 6 points. I think I like Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars to pull this thing off and make the postseason.
I do too. If anybody has any betting Q&A questions, if there's anything anybody has started to bet in the last few days, I don't understand this, or I tried to do a parlay and it didn't cash for, why didn't this work, or my odds were weird, whatever. Put it in the chat. We're happy to answer any questions.
I'll give our Bengals Ravens pick at the end of the show. There's 2 local games that are happening.
Yes.
So we'll close off with that. One's UC basketball. They play tonight in Wichita. And then the other one is this Sunday at 1 o'clock for the Bengals Ravens. So, Paul, without further ado, fire them bad boy picks out.
Fire these picks out. Okay, college basketball tonight. Rutgers -5 against Maryland. I like Rutgers. You can take that on the money line. Mike gave it out. It's -225 right now. Queens is at +1. They're -110 on the money line. Again, I like Ohio State at -1.5. I think this game, I actually had this game penciled in as Purdue's first loss of the season a little while ago. And then they lost to Rutgers, which almost put my brain in a scramble trying to figure out, wait, is Purdue going to respond well off of that Rutgers loss? Are they going to want to try and make a statement here?
We did that with UConn last night, and it didn't work out.
It did not work out. That was not good. Providence controlled that whole game.
Take the lid off the hoop for a while.
I
They
would have
couldn't make
been
any
rich.
shot. They
Oh.
couldn't make anything. Oh, well.
Here's one for you.
Mm.
Big mid-major game tonight for real college basketball junkies. UAB and Florida Atlantic. Florida Atlantic, one of the best mid-major
Birmingham.
teams in all of college basketball right now. That was supposed to be UAB, Jelly Walker. UAB's underperformed a little bit. Florida Atlantic -2.5 at home. Statement game for Florida Atlantic if they can get it done. What are we going to do about – we got to give a pick. What are we going to do about the Cincinnati Bearcats tonight? They are on the road at Wichita State at 9 o'clock. That game's on ESPNU, I believe. Cincinnati is -2 on the road. The total in this game is – look at that. 134. I'm not touching the total. Does UC win this game?
I think I like Wichita. UC has not played well on the road this year. Has not played well on the road. Wichita's a big basketball town.
Reed, they haven't just played bad on the road. They've played small sample size, 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible on the road.
Have not shot well, not played well. They can't figure it out on the road. So I think I like the Shockers here.
Shockers +2, also +110 on the money line. Good game out west. I don't know if this is on the Pac-12 network. Oregon and Colorado. Oregon's been banged up this year. I was deciding between Oregon +2 or going with the total at 143.5. I kind of like the under in that game. And then one more.
Did you give a pick on the UC Wichita?
Yeah. I just was agreeing with you, Wichita State.
All right. Well,
yeah.
Let's get that.
+2. And then I'm going to stick with UCLA -11 against USC.
I like that pick a lot.
That game's at 9:30. So we've staggered this for you again pretty well here for Thursday night, where you have Purdue and Ohio State at 7. Then you have a 9 o'clock game in Iowa and Indiana. I like Iowa in that game. And then at 9:30, USC, UCLA, so you can get yourself a full night.
There was a time as a young buck, I used to shop around my college fandom a lot in several different sports, and I was a UCLA fan for a while there. Shabazz Muhammad went there. Steve Alford was the coach. And it all strives from my dad being a UCLA fan, or at least it was. But now we're fully on board with the Muskies. So I like UCLA in that one.
All right, and I got a late one for you for people that really want to stay up late.
No bedtime.
For people that have a 3-day weekend and can stay up late tonight and want to watch some West Coast hoops, this line is dropped to a point that I'm comfortable with. Gonzaga -9.5 on the road at San Francisco. Ken Pom has this at 8. I thought they had it at 10. Maybe I'm not gonna give that out. The over in that game, Reed, is 156.
I mean, this is for the legacy of Bill Russell and Adam Morrison.
Oh Lord.
The best basketball players, the 2 best basketball players of all time.
Wait, let me see if this is offered before I give it out. If you can get, it's not always offered, but if you can get the Arizona team total tonight, take it, whatever it is.
152.
Whatever it is.
154.
Whatever the Arizona team total is against Washington tonight, take it.
All right.
Put the picky parlay back up on the screen, Reed.
I got it.
Boom Shakalaka wants to see it.
You got to slide on over here, big dog. You got Iowa
it is.
-1.5 against the Candy Stripes. You got UCLA 11.5 against their in-town rival. Then you got the over in the OSU Purdue game. That gets you 6-1 odds. You know what you're going to do with that? You're going to sprinkle some scratch, just a little bit.
Sprinkle some scratch. All right, before we get out of here, Casey.
We got Casey. Before we get to you, we got to do our Bengals pick.
Oh yeah.
Because this is Southwest Ohio's premier sports gambling show. So, without further ado, 7 is the line, Paul.
Oh, man.
Bengals at home. The over-under is 41.5. You got to pick in this one.
They've covered 7 in a row. I know it's coming off of a tough week for the Bengals. Give me the Bengals.
So
I
the
like it at
Bengals-
7.
The Bengals have only not covered 3 games in their last, 22 games now, 19-3 over their last 22. I think there's too much indecision in the air onto whether or not if Bengals are going to start their guys, if Lamar Jackson's going to play with the Ravens. So I don't like the line either way. I will say the way that the Ravens play is very hard-nosed, a lot of low-scoring games with the Ravens, and just the fact that we don't know who's going to start, just take the under and pray it gets under 41.5. So I'm going to take the under in that.
Look at this. We got people tuned in.
Love it.
People tuned in. Shout out Seaback watching this game. Beans are watching this stream. We got 69 people in the chat
So while
right now.
Casey gives us his pick of the night, go ahead, chat, and give us your final suggestions for the pick of the night, and we'll throw a couple up on a wheel or something like that.
Oh, the wheel. Leave it to the wheel of winner.
Leave
We haven't, what we haven't done, Reed? We haven't tested the wheel of winners since betting is launched.
So if we get 4 picks by the time Casey gives us his picks, we'll throw them in the wheel, and we'll pick one out from there. Casey, what do you got for us?
I got 3-leg parlay right now.
Hell
Ooh,
yeah, let's
three-legger.
go.
The Tracy Jones parlay, the 3-legger.
All right, I got my mic on now.
Yeah, it's close enough. All right.
Are we ready for this 3-leg
Yeah,
parlay?
we're ready if you're ready.
I was working on maybe adding 1 or 2 more things, but I think this is actually pretty good for a 3-leg parlay. It's plus 600, just to start off with.
Plus 600,
Okay.
6-1.
And this is on Betfred.
All right.
Well, that's the only bet book
Obviously.
we use.
Taking Jacksonville in the spread.
The Jaguars?
Jaguars.
Minus
Just
6.
want to make sure.
Plus 235 passing yards for Trevor Lawrence. That seems reasonable.
Okay.
And for Evan Ingram to score a touchdown.
Plus 600.
That's plus
Plus
600?
Love it.
I like that.
It almost always.
Almost always. And in this case, it's such a small parlay, a 3-legger, that maybe you sprinkle in a round robin and still make you some money. I mean, almost always hits.
You're round robining over there, Casey?
I did last night. I won some money last night on Trace's parlay. I was talking to Paul about this earlier. I missed the North Carolina game. I woke up too late to have that in the parlay, and I just sprinkled in some money in the round robin and made a couple $100. So.
There you go.
Wait, you round robin that parlay last night?
Yeah, just for 5 though. So if I would have missed the other, so I only had six legs, not the 7. So I got rid of the North Carolina game, which is one that missed.
You round robined for those who don't know, round robin is basically you put a certain amount of money on a parlay and then
you just bet on every single outcome. You mix and match every single way that parlay could be mixed and matched.
So if there's a 6-leg parlay, you put $5, but it multiplies depending on how many. So you'd basically be having to bet $30.
Yeah, so I put
that was a terrible explanation.
30 times 5, right?
So
there's 30 different outcomes.
Just to explain what I did, I put some of my free bets on the main parlay, which was only 6 legs at the time, and the only one that didn't hit was Auburn. But I put money on the 5 round robin and not any of the others. So I still cashed out with
How much did you win on that? Not to put you on the spot. You don't have to say if you don't want to.
It was
Nice.
$150.
Look at this kid.
So,
Look at Casey making some
hang on.
cash.
Here's the thing. I'm starting to think that the smart thing to do if you're going to listen to my parlays is to at least put round robin on the 2 on this case for the 3-leg parlay. You're going to hit.
Because they almost always.
Because they almost always hit.
I mean, they really I've said this before about Casey's parlays. If you took every leg individually, you would be up a significant amount of money because you're right on it.
Yeah.
You just almost get close to hitting the whole thing. You have not hit one yet.
Lerone Simmons.
I have I haven't. I've hit on some parlays. I just haven't been able to say them live or show them live. This one I'm really confident in. It's only 3 legs. I think I got this.
Okay.
Lerone Simmons, to answer your question very shortly, yes, the money line is just picking to win outright, and then the spread is by how many points.
Yep.
In or without.
I see Connor Backman. Shout out Connor Backman getting engaged. That's my friend that I was telling you about getting engaged.
Big guy. Got the ring last week engaged the same week.
Yeah.
Did it really quick. Quick turnaround.
Quick turnaround for my guy C-Back. What does round robin mean? We explained it a second ago, but basically round robin is let's say you're going to put 6 teams in a parlay and you're going to bet $5 just straight up on that parlay, $5 to win whatever the 6 legs is. If you do a round robin for, say, a 5-part round robin on the 6-leg parlay, that means that if any combination of the 5 teams, of 5 out of your 6 teams win.
Correct.
So, or if you do a 4-part, that means that if any combination of 4 teams of those 6 teams that you have in a parlay win, you win. Now, the difference is that as you step up each part of the round robin, you have to wager more money. So if you take 4 out of your 6, you're multiplying your money. So you're wagering more, you're risking more. But as long as you hit 4 of your 6 legs, to Casey's point about the almost always hits,
you'll hit.
Yeah.
So this is probably going to go overhead for a lot of you. But if any of you guys have bet on the ponies before, on
ponies.
horses
Oh,
before.
can we do this? Can we do this live? Casey, can you get a website up here? We're going to do this live. Can we do this live?
Yeah, go
We're doing this
ahead.
today. Casey,
Sure.
go to tvg.com. Reed, you take it. I'm going to do this.
Okay, so while he gets, we're gonna bet on a pony live. But a round robin is like if you're betting on the ponies and you bet a trifecta. So you're betting 3 horses to win in the exact order. 1, 2, 3. Win, place, show, and then exact order. Then you can box it, which is just taking those 3 horses and saying any one of these can happen, and you're just betting on, maybe 1, 2, and 3 to figure out 1, 2, and 3. Then it's 3, 2, 1. You're just boxing it together, a trifecta. Just every possible outcome. So what we're going to do now is we're going to get the closest, the next stream, which I guess is the Gulf Stream Park, and we're going to watch this thing live, put it up live, bet on a pony, and boom shakalaka. Yes, we should absolutely have a Chatterbox Day at the horse track.
All right, we're going to get this live. We're going to get this, if I can.
We're doing this live, guys. Casey, you got plus 600. Just a reminder, so most of these sports books, Betfred Sportsbook is no different, that they give you free bets. They do expire. So make sure to check the expiration date on your Betfred bets to make sure to get those picks in before they expire, before they go kaput. And to get that money, it's normally just a play through one time. Win us some money.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this in. I don't know my account password.
Well, we'll do it for another time. How about that?
All right, we'll do it later.
We'll do it at a later date. We'll be live Monday. We'll get a game up.
We'll do it Monday.
A race Monday. Maybe on some dirt. Maybe on some turf. 8 furlongs. What's the word there?
Furlongs.
Furlongs. Yeah.
Furlough. We don't want people furloughed.
No, not furloughed.
If you've got furloughed, you'd have some time to bet during the day. All right.
Sir Boy's trying to get me to take his parlay. Sir Boy.
What's his parlay?
You see this arm right here? Don't twist it. Don't twist it. Guys, thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. See you Monday. Mike Schmaltz tomorrow.